You know, imagine if we were in the studio now and King Kong was on the roof trying to smash his way through the roof, and we thought when he gets in, his hand's going to grab us and take us away, and he's going to mash us up and eat us. I mean, that's horrible.
Dreams like that.
Well, you do worry about these things, don't you?
No.
Well,
I really don't worry about King Kong smashing through the roof.
Well, I don't mean King Kong, but I mean you worry about oppression, don't you, in all its forms. I don't know what your problem is.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say that as we draw to the close of another fantastic week, it's time to say very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry.
Yeah, good morning, Mike.
Very
it might have been a fantastic week for you, and it's been a week of hell for me.
Well, I think you've done very, very well to get yourself through it.
Thank you.
With barely a mention of it.
Yeah, the secret mission.
The secret mission goes on.
Yeah, secret mission goes on. It wears you down.
Yes.
I've had a maximum of 4 hours sleep a day.
Right. Well, that's all you ever
week.
have, though. Well, you told me that's all you ever need.
But I've tried to explain it. It's like broken up into 1 hour sleep here.
Doesn't matter.
And then 7 hours doing something else, then 1 hour sleep, you know, but it's service to my country, so I have to take that on board.
Very decent of you.
I have deferred any payments for the secret mission work. Yep.
Okay.
Other people take payments, but I've just said no, I won't.
Well, you don't need the money, do you? It's hardly much of a sacrifice.
Excuse me.
Why didn't you take the money and give it to charity?
No, that's absolutely irrelevant. No, I'm not going to do that. That's a publicity stunt. But most of all, what I need to say is that I'm very confident about the quiz tonight.
Are you?
Because I have had time to study what I thought I didn't know about the subject.
I thought you said you didn't have any time to do anything.
I was occasionally able, during periods of mass briefing and all that kind of stuff.
During the mission, you mean?
Sometimes during the mission, I've been able to glance at my information device.
See, that's not good.
And
you can only concentrate on one thing at a time.
And get on with things. But anyway...
so you're saying you might get as high as 7 then?
Well, I'm confident.
Because there was a great tweet put out a bit earlier on by one of our listeners about your record in the quizzes, and what your average was, and the top scores and everything. And your top score, I think, was the Clint Eastwood quiz. You got about 6. 6.5, I think, is your top score for something else. So that's what you have to beat.
I thought you said chocolate was the best one.
Chocolate was, but he didn't include that one. Chocolate, but it was around the same. Chocolate was about 6.5 as well.
Okay, good.
But that included a taste test as well, so we don't really count that. Now, it is still Thanksgiving in America, so for anybody listening in America, we should wish them a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And we're now watching a game of football which will kick off at 1:30.
Oh, yeah.
Which will be the third big NFL game, because that was one of the things of Thanksgiving in America. You would watch, you know, NFL football like all day if you wished to.
Yeah, I never watched it all minute, let alone all day.
Well, yeah, because you'd be stuck into the
Is there anybody we know who's been talking about Thanksgiving?
Well, funny you should say that, because Bobcat Bob, of course, hails from New Jersey.
That's what I thought.
He hails from New Jersey,
Yeah.
and he's had some things to say about what he's going to be doing on Thanksgiving.
My wife and I will have a little time tonight. There'll be some turkey, and then we'll have a chance through FaceTime and whatnot to catch up with everybody. Thanksgiving is
turkey,
a family holiday.
And
it's a time when everybody's together.
Everybody's together.
Over the years, because of football commitments, we've not always been together. But we've still made it sure that somehow we all catch up on the day. So my brothers and their families, my parents will all be together.
My parents,
Michael and Amanda and Quinn and Luca in Toronto. Because obviously the season's still going on. Ryan and her husband Andy in Warwick. And then my oldest daughter Carrie in San Francisco. But there'll be some good FaceTiming going on today.
Good FaceTiming.
Good FaceTiming.
Good FaceTime going on.
Making plays. Why does he have to name every single member of his family?
I don't know. I
mean, that was quite sweet, actually. He's kind of endeared him to me.
But what I would say is, with Bobcat Bob,
he's been pushing a lot of envelopes.
And struggling for his job. I just don't think in this country, perhaps he doesn't realise the significance of it, he should be talking about turkeys.
Well, yeah, but somebody probably asked him. I mean, that's the old.
Turkeys,
it's hard to criticise him for that, because that'd be the old story of somebody saying, you know, do you miss Thanksgiving since you're in Britain? You know. But I mean, what he should be concentrating on is the big game, which is 3 o'clock kick-off tomorrow at home in Swansea, against Crystal Palace.
That's right.
I've tipped them to win that.
I know,
so I don't want him eating too much turkey.
That's right.
Because he won't be able to get the ninja thing going on the sideline.
Hey, do you think you see Alan Pardew before the game and the guys might have a bit of FaceTime? Let's have some FaceTime with Pardew.
Turkey.
Yeah. But he said, I love the way he describes games. They still don't get it, the Americans, when talking about football.
Making plays.
He says, no, we play played a good game against Everton. Sorry, what was that, Bob? We played a good game against Everton.
Well, what's wrong with that? Why would you say we played a good game against Everton? You're right there.
Not really, no. My vocal cords are going. Well, we don't say in this country we played a good game.
What do you say?
We had a good game.
Yeah.
Or something like that, but not played a good game. Yeah. And I love it when some Americans say, the ball hit the back of the net. Well, that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Making plays is my favourite one.
But he also said, we gave out a positive message at Goodison Park. We played a good game against Everton. We took it all. We made it count.
There'll be some good FaceTiming going on today.
That's why I like the FaceTime.
Bob, listen, if he can turn it around, this will be the weekend that he turns it around. I did say to you at the beginning he will be great for the Premier League.
Yes, you did.
And he's certainly been great for this show. What he hasn't yet shown is how good he's going to be for the Premier League.
I totally agree.
But, if he doesn't win against Crystal Palace, he may get the heave-ho over Thanksgiving weekend.
Well, that's right. And he could not... Bob, you might not be the only turkey in town by Sunday.
Turkey's voting for Christmas and all that kind of thing. Now, we've got lots to do. Coming up, we're going to go over to China to find out what's the latest on the old West Brom takeover bid.
Yes, that's
and we're
right.
also going to find out how the Chinese are dealing with the new president-elect over in the United States of America.
Grasshopper.
Well, never mind. No, that's nothing to do with it. Never mind that. And
also, Chinese.
Also, we're going to talk to Paul Parker about Manchester United, because did you see Wayne Rooney last night?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You saw him score a goal?
Saw him score a goal.
You know, it looks as if you did.
No, I did.
Right.
Don't be silly. And an assist.
And an assist.
Great
pass.
pass.
Sound like Bob now. An
assist, yeah.
I mean, see, people used to mock that phrase, right? Now it's considered part of the football lexicon.
Some idiot in this country decided, I'll tell you what, we'll suddenly classify assists as nearly as good as goals. Yeah. And we never bothered 10 years ago. An assist was, what do you mean assist? You mean his teammate passed it to him?
Yes.
That's what he's paid to do.
Exactly.
Quite ridiculous.
Now it's also Black Friday, by the way. And I had a rant the other day. I'm not getting involved in it either. But you might be pleased to know that Dylan has tweeted us saying, never thought I'd say the two mics would save me money.
Yep.
But it's time for the show. I'm going to close my laptop. So he's saying that if it wasn't for us, he'd be spending more money online.
Yeah, no, that's a good man. Well
Although
done.
you said you wanted to buy a new fridge freezer, didn't you?
Yeah, but I'd just go to the fridge freezer shop and buy it. I've got one locally. I've got one locally in a place called Cheam in Surrey.
What, a fridge freezer shop?
Well, it's domestic appliances.
Domestic appliances.
That's where I got my last.
Is that where you got Mrs. Mop?
Eh?
Is that where you got Mrs. Mop?
No, that's where I got my last washing machine from, which is exactly the same as your washing machine. When I came down to your gaff last weekend and looked around the utility room.
What were you doing poking about in there?
Because your boys took me in there to show me Ziggy's bed.
Oh, yes, right.
Because Ziggy's bed is in that room.
Yeah, well, do you have to give away so many secrets every single time you open your mouth?
Now, listen, Stephen Gerrard has announced his retirement. Now, can I tell you, this morning, when I was on the secret mission, but about 10 minutes in every 2 or 3 hours, you get access to your information device and you can find out what's going on in the world.
Yes.
That's why, that's how I kept up with things. And when I read, Stephen Gerrard's announced his retirement from football, I was completely nonplussed because I thought he already had retired from football. Do you see what I mean?
Well, he hadn't really. He retired from English football, hadn't he? Well, he retired from English football.
Yeah, but then he announced he was leaving the American team. Who's he playing for?
The LA Galaxy.
The LA Galaxy.
Bruce Arena.
Yeah, Bruce. Well, I never thought he was going to go anywhere else. So I assumed he'd already retired. So all of a sudden the world explodes. Oh, Gerrard retiring.
Well, Stephen Gerrard coming back to these islands in some capacity in football is quite a big story, wouldn't you agree?
If he comes back in some capacity in football.
Well, he's going to, isn't he?
But he's been coming back and doing punditry on television for the last 12 months.
Not a lot, though.
Well, he has. I've seen him on a few. I've seen him on a few. So I don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, look.
But this is just your Everton bias.
No, it's not. No, I'm not dismissing his contribution to the game and the fact that I think he's been a wonderful footballer.
Yeah.
But I do think there's an awful lot of fuss being made. Stevie.
Somebody sent me an interesting statistic. Somebody sent me an interesting statistic about him, actually. During the whole time of his career that he played for Liverpool, Everton never won a trophy.
Sorry?
Well, that's true, isn't it?
What?
So during his entire playing career for Liverpool, Everton never won a trophy.
There'll be some turkey.
He was with Liverpool as early as the 90s when he was a boy.
I saw when he came on for the first time as a fresh-faced young teenager.
As a sub.
Yes, that's right.
I did, with very short hair. And he was with Liverpool
what was that noise?
In 95.
When somebody under the desk?
No, it's not me. When Everton won the FA Cup. So they have won a
No, it's incorrect.
Trophy.
No, it's not true.
No, it is true. It's
no,
absolutely
it isn't.
true. It's absolutely true.
Well, what year did you think Stephen Gerrard first played for Liverpool?
It's not played. It's when he first associated with the club.
Well, I said since he's been playing for Liverpool.
Yes.
Everton haven't won a trophy. It's a simple statistic.
Well,
it's not wrong.
I'm sorry. Since he's been associated with the club, Everton have won a trophy. They won the FA Cup. So don't bother getting into that.
So I'll look up when Everton won the FA Cup, and I'll look up when he made his first appearance, and we'll see who's right.
He was always very unstable in his appearances for Liverpool against Everton. He used to the Red Mist.
I don't know why you've got it in for him.
And he got sent off.
Why have you got it in for Steven Gerrard?
I haven't got it in. I think he's a wonderful player, wonderful footballer, and any team would have been delighted to have had him for 10 or 12 years as a peak player. So
Everton would have loved to have had him. Wasn't there a story about him being dressed as an Everton kit when he was a youngster?
No, I don't think there was. No. I mean, a lot of the players who went on to play for Liverpool, like Robbie Fowler and Steve McManaman, started off as Evertonians.
Yeah.
I don't think Jamie Carragher did, but I could be corrected on that one. Steven Gerrard wasn't amongst that number. He was a true red and
seen the time, by the way.
Wayne Rooney was a true blue.
Well, I don't want you turning this into a sort of big criticism of Steven Gerrard.
I'm not. I don't want to talk about Steven Gerrard. Every time I've turned on the radio since about 9 o'clock this morning, people have been talking about Steven Gerrard. I'm Gerrarded out.
All right,
let's not talk about Steven Gerrard.
I know, I can see
Steven Gerrard, I hope he has a magnificent life in the future, and I hope everything goes well for you, and I hope you continue to make millions of pounds, live in huge houses on Formby Beach, and contribute massively to society by paying huge amounts of tax like you do. But I don't care, really, that much about what your future life holds, as long as you're healthy and happy.
This is Talk Sport.
The boy who wouldn't grow up chasing his own tail. The boy who couldn't grow up and acting on bail. Oh, giddy child, clutching to life. Always made to grow up, always told to shut up.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up, it's the Porky Quiz, of course, and it is on ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, the final Grand Prix of the season, where Lewis Hamilton may or not be crowned champion again. It is on British Motor Racing World Champion, so I'm looking forward to that. Here's one from retired in Mexico. He says, "Happy belated Harvest Festival." Which I don't know whether that's got anything to do with
Harvest Festival. Is that this time of year, isn't it?
Well, I guess it would be, yeah. Ian says, I don't want to have another night of you singing absolutely rubbish at me.
Good. Don't you remember the Harvest Festival song?
No, I'm not interested in that.
We plough the fields and
I'm not interested. Not interested at all.
The good seed on the ground.
No, you don't want to do too much. It's a family show, this.
I used to sing that as a 5-year-old child in school, yes.
Well, did you sing any better than you do now?
You what?
Ian says this, leave the Thanksgiving shouts away. We have overrated Halloween and Black Friday. This is the United Kingdom, not the States.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, the thing is, we live in a global sort of society now, don't we?
Global economy.
And, we have American players playing football over here. We have American football being played over here.
We have
American managers like Bobcat Bob. We have British football that's going to America. So I think you should stop being such a xenophobe, actually, to be honest. Was Porky's mission to find Mike's shirts, which went missing from the dry cleaners, says Nat. They didn't go missing, Nat. They were stolen.
Have you had the compensation yet?
Not yet, no. But I saw the guy the other day. And he said, just bring the receipt and I'll give you the money. So
and you've lodged the...
all seems to be well.
You've lodged the claim, have you?
Well, I've lodged it with the dry cleaners. I'm not going to get it on my insurance. How about this from Lord Rala? I'm reporting live from Philadelphia. I've successfully abandoned the family and I'm safely sequestered away and listening, he says.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Well done.
Now, how about this from Phil?
Yeah.
Show some respect for Bradley. He's talking about his country's traditions, yet you two buffoons with one F were just taking the mickey out of him.
Yeah.
He actually used another word. But,
no, that's right. That's right. We are taking the mickey out of him.
Take it easy, Phil. It's a radio show, mate.
Yeah, not only that, but what we're doing is we're using our... exquisite skill in what do you call it? Projective broadcasting. Projective broadcasting, because we think Bobcat Bob is on a slippery slope, and we think he'll be the next turkey.
Yeah.
To come out of Swansea.
That could well be. Andy says this: can the Porkmeister say positivity counters negativity by multiplying the plays leading to results, as Bobcat Bob? It's probably hard to remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember that one. Positivity combined with negativity gives you...
Now, look, see, I'm right. There's a picture of Steven Gerrard in an Everton kit. I told you there was one.
No, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, how could you not have known that?
No, I didn't know that.
You're a massive Everton fan, right?
Do you think I really care whether when Steven Gerrard was 8...
but it's one of those stories that sticks in your head.
No, it doesn't stick in my head.
That's, again, why you were never allowed to write headlines.
No.
You should have remembered this picture.
No, why would I care less about Steven Gerrard once wearing an Everton shirt? He never played for Everton,
Well, he's in an Everton shirt with the Everton trophy case. And in fact, you can tell it's a long time ago.
Well, not only that, but that was the shirt, of course, we won our league championships in the 80s.
Well, is that the league championship trophy he's got there?
It's not only the league championship
Charity
trophy,
Shield.
it's the Charity Shield as well. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what year would that be?
That would have been 85.
85.
Yeah. Oh well, no. 85. That's right. Yeah.
Well, it's quite a sweet picture. So he was an Evertonian when he was a kid.
Well, good.
So, imagine
I'm very happy.
Sort of what you call a sliding doors moment. He could have ended up being an Everton player, which could have transformed Everton's fortune.
I'd have welcomed him. He was a very, very good footballer and had a great career. And I wish him the very best for the rest of his life.
Yes,
however,
very kind.
However, it is it is not number one on my list of priorities on why the world must continue to spin around.
David says Carra was also an Evertonian.
Yes, he was. Yeah, Carragher. Yeah, that's right.
Abdul says, I totally agree with Porky. I'm sick and tired of this Steven Gerrard loving. Whenever I hear his name, I remember the slip.
Yes, the slip.
See, that's unfortunate that it
is very unfortunate. Very unfortunate for him because that's, in many ways, a generation of people only became aware of Steven Gerrard because of that slip and the fact that rather than winning a title, he lost one that night. But
I'll tell you what, we've now got about 100 people tweeting this picture of Steven Gerrard as Evertonian.
Excellent, I love it. Thank you very much
Incredible
indeed. Well
that
done.
you could not have actually known that.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe you just blocked it out.
No. Why would I get
Why would you block
concerned?
It out?
Why would I block it out? Why would I block it in?
Well, because you're always going about how Wayne Rooney's an Evertonian at heart.
No. I mean, what good would it be to me saying, Steven Gerrard, some say was, one of the greatest footballers ever, once wore an Everton shirt. I don't care about it, to be honest.
Okay. Paul says this, if Gerrard was an Everton player, the entire show would be about him. Typical Porky, typical Everton.
No, not at all. If the same thing was happening, say, go back 50 years and it was Alan Ball leaving Everton and going to Arsenal, which was such a cosmic shock that the Daily Mirror, I remember, because I was delivering newspapers at the time, actually led their front page on it, not their back page. Then I would say exactly the same, Get it into proportion. It's a football, it's a story.
Indeed. But Derek in Pincoid has been in touch. He says, Mike, Porky said he doesn't care about Steven Gerrard. I feel the same way about Wayne Rooney. I don't give a damn what he gets up to. And Porky hits a good seed on the ground, not the land, you numpty.
Oh, on the ground?
Yeah, it's on the ground, not the land.
Oh, hang on. We plough
Well, it doesn't mean you have to sing it again.
Scatter the good seeds on the ground, is it?
He says on the ground, yes.
On the ground.
Not the land.
Landed. Well, same sort of thing, isn't it?
Well,
land
it's a slightly more elongated word.
Land is ground and ground is land. Now, here, I've got this quote that you want me to do.
Yeah.
So this is Bobcat Bob. Right. Positivity counters negativity by multiplying the plays leading to results.
So far, not very good results, you'd have to say.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, there's a couple of big other stories that we need to talk about. Of course, we've got the massive game Chelsea-Spurs live right here on TalkSport with Chelsea already top of the league.
Yeah.
Spurs hurting slightly from the Champions League scenario.
Well, it's not going well for them, is it?
Well, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you going to say about it?
About what?
About Chelsea-Spurs.
What do I think is going to happen?
Well, I just thought, since it's the big game on TalkSport of the weekend, you might have a view about it.
I have got a view about it.
You might have a view about Chelsea.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will win.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not particularly mesmeric prediction, is it?
Well, the trouble is, a lot of your predictions tend to make the result go the completely opposite way than the one that everybody thinks is going to happen.
No. I'm. Well, I mean, look, everybody thinks Chelsea's going to win anyway because Chelsea are in cracking form. They've won the last 6, haven't they?
Yes.
And Spurs have only won 1 in the last 8.
Yes.
As far as my factual figurehead brain tells me.
Is that right?
And so I think it's going to be tough. I'll tell you what I think's interesting is old Pochettino is coming out and said, I've gone to the club and told them we're staying at Wembley for the UEFA.
Yeah. Which is anti the story that we heard the other day, which was that they want us to go back and play at White Hart Lane.
Yeah, well,
maybe he's getting pressurised from on high. What do you think of that?
Well, the way the story came to me was that he actually went to the board and said, don't even think about pulling out of the Wembley deal. I want to stay there, So it seems like it's his initiative. Perhaps he likes being associated with Wembley.
Yeah,
you can understand that. Now, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
What do you want to talk to me about?
Now, have you read the story about this chap who invented one of the world's most famous beers?
Which one is that?
Now, well, if you, sometimes if you go out with a bunch of trendies, instead of having a pint of bitter or something like that.
A bunch of trendies?
Yeah.
I very rarely go out with a bunch of trendies.
Well, I must admit, I rarely do. But sometimes I meet up with my niece and she's of a generation below me and she's got
about 3 generations below you, isn't she?
That's a bit harsh. And,
very nice girl, though.
Yeah, and somebody will say, "Oh, yeah, thanks, mate. I'll have a Corona." Is that the one they stick the lime?
The lime in, yes.
On?
Well, it's Mexican beer, isn't it? It's quite light.
Mr. Walker used to drink that. You know our pal, Mr. Walker?
Occasionally. Well, I've drunk it in the past.
Executive
it's quite nice in
the London Evening Standard.
You don't have to give away everything about everybody that we know, because why would you?
Hey,
why would you?
By the way, talking about London Evening Standard, you know Mr. Lebedev, who actually owns it?
Yes, the Russian oligarch.
The Russian oligarch with a beard.
Well, in fact, it's his son who's kind of been put in charge, right?
No, this is what I'm talking about. No, he is the owner of the
Lebedev
Standard.
Jr.?
Lebedev Jr.
Yeah.
Not Lebedev Sr., the man who gets up in the middle of televised press conferences and punches the other guy in the face.
No.
And then gets charged with hooliganism, which is a charge in Russia. No,
well, you want to be charged with hooliganism in Russia rather than being taken away to the vaults of Siberia.
The gulags, yeah. So, but anyway, it was very interesting because Mr. Lebedev wrote a column in a political magazine last week, which I read, and he said that one of the great burdens of his life is organising the Evening Standard literary festival or something, or literary night, or something like that. It takes a year to organise. And he gets there. It's amazing. These people are fantastic. Suddenly, all these prizes over the last 30 years we've been awarded, the Laurence Olivier Prize. Well, the major prize now is the Lebedev Drama Trophy. It's amazing.
Really?
How people promote themselves.
Well,
he's entitled to. It's his paper.
It's his
nothing
paper.
wrong with it.
It is absolutely right. Indeed. Now, talking about beards.
We haven't told you about Corona.
Well, hang on. I'm talking about beards. Have you seen Rooney's beard?
Yeah,
what do you make of that?
That's all right.
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it?
There's nothing wrong with it. I just wonder why he would suddenly grow a beard.
Let me have a look. Well, I suppose he decided, it's the new look or something like that. I'll drink to that. Wayne sets record. That's a headline relating to his drinking exploits. No, on the Corona thing, you see, the reason
it's a headline related to his goal scoring record.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I'll drink to that.
You said it's related to his drinking.
Well,
it's not related to his drinking.
Well, don't you think they've used that headline because of his drinking exploits?
But he's not relating to his drinking. They're talking about the record of his goals.
I said it related to his drinking. Right. Keep up. Now then, the founder of Corona, right?
Yes.
And this guy's name is Antonio Fernandez.
Is it?
Yeah. He was 98, and he died in August. He left 169 million quid, okay?
Right.
But the thing is, he started all this, as a young man, maybe 70 years ago or something like that, in a tiny village called Carrizales del Condado.
I'm pretty sure you're not pronouncing that right.
Carrizales del Condado.
Put a bit into
Condado.
it. Anyway, put a bit of a lift into it.
Carrizales del Condado. Anyway,
anyway, we're out of time already.
Listen, there's only one bar in the village. It's owned by Maximilian Sanchez.
The only bar in the village.
Anyway, the point is, there's only 160. No, there's only a few people in the village, and he's left all his money to them. 80 residents in the village will share his fortune of £169 million as a thanks to their lifelong support.
Well, has he got any family?
For his idea. Well, he's given his family 13 children, all the rest of the money.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, how much has he got to give away?
He's giving the village of 80 people 169 million quid that's left over.
Right.
He was one of 13 children.
Imagine if you lived in that village, how lucky you'd be.
His family battled poverty.
Yeah.
So as a 14-year-old, he left school because his parents couldn't afford to keep him.
Right.
Moved to Mexico, made the beer.
Well, it's very successful beer, I must say. It's not particularly great beer, but it's all right.
Yes, that's right.
Nice in the summer, as I said.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Anyway, he did very well. Now he's left all the money to the local people. That's great. I will do that. I'll do that, yeah.
Well, you're going to leave all your money to the people in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey?
No, but I might
Seems unusual.
I might leave a wad of dosh to the housekeeper or something like that.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice of you.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll hear more about that coming up very shortly. We'll also be talking to Paul Parker over in Far East about Manchester United, about all the Premier League action coming up this morning. It's Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Of course, there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Yes. And we will be on the warm-up on Saturday morning from 11 until 1.
Looking I think it's 11 until 1.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it.
In fact, that's tomorrow, isn't it now?
It is tomorrow now, yeah. And once again, the early kick-off, Burnley versus Manchester City, will start in the second hour of the show.
Yes, that'll be fantastic.
Which will always be very exciting.
Now, on Sunday, I'm hoping to get to Southampton for the Everton game.
Oh, yeah.
I have two, pretty exquisite seats.
Exquisite?
Yes.
When you say exquisite, what does that mean?
Right alongside the director's box, in the good part of the
Well, not
ground.
in it, though.
Well, I could be if I want to be.
Right.
because I will get invited. But
you can't buy those tickets, though, can you?
No, you can't buy those. That's by invitation only. But I will probably defer.
So if you have 2 tickets that sit you outside of the director's box and you get invited into the director's box, what happens to the 2 tickets you've got?
I'm given to one of the Great Unwashed
the Great Unwashed
to improve their experience
outside
the game.
What, did you stand there and hand them out?
No, not at all. No, what you'd do is you just say to one of the officials of the club, can you see that these are used properly, please? And then they'll go and find somebody who they'll upgrade the seat for. You see what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
So that's easy. But, being man of the people, I don't take free seats anyway. So
I'm aware of that. And I mean, I know that people have criticised you for that in the past.
Yes.
The one thing I will defend you on.
That's right.
Of which there are not many.
No.
But I know that you always pay for your seat.
I am, however, a shareholder of Everton Football Club. And therefore, does
that sort of result in profits over the course of a year, perhaps? I mean, do you get dividends, is what I'm saying?
No.
If you're a shareholder.
Well, you can, but if they pay any dividends, you just plough them back into the shareholding.
Right.
You see what I mean?
No, I'm just curious because I've never owned shares in a football club. So do they? I mean, if they make a profit, do they give a dividend out?
Yes, they do. Yes, of course they do. Yeah, because all shareholders get a dividend if a dividend's been paid out.
Yes. Well, have they paid a dividend recently?
I can't talk about that.
Why not?
It's all
it's a public company.
No, it's all to do with the new ownership. Excuse me, and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, they have an annual general meeting and they announce their profits.
They do.
Don't
Yes.
Well, why can't you tell me?
Well, you'd have to talk to my financial people about that.
Really?
To get that sorted out. Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about. Now, you put out another picture of your food today, right?
I did, yes.
And
I went and got a haircut, right?
And
yes. I ended up in Borough Market because I thought whenever I'm near Borough Market, I like to go and stock up with 1 or 2 bits and pieces.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a fantastic butcher's there, which I've talked about before. And I thought I quite fancy one of their pies. So I bought one of their steak and kidney pies.
Oh, okay.
And
took it home. So you didn't eat it in a restaurant in Borough Market?
No, I didn't. No.
I see.
Because the butcher's shop doesn't have a restaurant facility.
No, I see. Yeah, some do.
Very many do.
One of our favourite boucheries in Manhattan was a butcher and
that was
a
bit of a gimmick, though.
Well,
that was a bit of a gimmick.
It was a fantastic. It
was called Leal.
Leal,
named after the meat market in Paris.
That's right, and there was a fantastic counter there with all sorts of beef and sausage and all that.
Well, I discovered that place.
Yeah, you did.
Because it was on my way home from my office.
Wasn't it off 5th?
No, it was on Park Avenue South.
Park. That's right. Yeah. But anyway, look, what I was going to say is, you have an interest in food, and I
do have an interest in food because I like to eat it.
So, are you passing that interest in food onto your children?
I would say so, yeah, because funnily enough, last weekend, on Sunday, my younger boy decided he wanted to make some butter cookies.
Oh, really?
And he came downstairs, and my daughter was very impressed because he came downstairs, and he just started messing about in the kitchen.
Really?
She was like, what's he doing? And he just made them himself.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he's only 9.
Because I'll tell you why. I've seen this report, you see, in one of my consumer journals.
Food Weekly.
And it says that many 11-year-olds, faced with the challenge these days of getting their own dinner, have turned away from heading straight down to the local McDonald's, okay?
Yeah.
It says, a survey says parents think youngsters of this age should become little chefs with 25 recipes in their repertoire. Scrambled eggs, spaghetti bolognese, stir-fry were all on the list. Mums and dads think their 11-year-olds should be able to cook, which I think is ridiculous.
I don't think it's ridiculous at all. Why is it ridiculous?
Well, at 11 years of age, you really think you should know about recipes?
Yeah, why not? I mean, the thing is that one of the reasons why kids are now so into cooking and food is that there's so much on television about it.
Right.
There's so many TV shows.
Is that right?
Great British Bake Off.
So kids watch these with their mum and dad, do they?
Well, my kids love the Great British Bake Off.
No,
I mean, I would never watch the thing at all, but I mean, that's where my youngest son got his interest in baking from, and he'll quite often want to make a Victoria sponge, or he'll make, and he wants to actually go in for there's a junior Bake Off.
Yes.
And he wants to actually enter it.
A junior Bake Off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you this then, because in this journal I read, it says this is a list of 25 recipes.
Yeah.
Now, your boys are 10 and 12, aren't they?
9 and 12.
9 and 12. So the mean average age is about 11, and this is for 11-year-olds.
Okay.
This is 25 things 11-year-olds should be able to cook up themselves without their parents.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you'd be in the house and all that, but I mean, not helping in the kitchen. Right. You tell me how many they can do.
Okay.
Right. Spaghetti bolognese.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they can cook that.
Both of them can, yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What, you mean do the meat and do the pasta in a separate dish?
Well, it's not a difficult dish to make, is it? I mean, even you can make it.
Yeah, I can make it, yeah. Right, scrambled egg on toast.
I would say one of them can do that, yeah.
Right,
omelette? They quite regularly will make toast and tea for their mother in the morning.
Oh, that's very nice, yeah. Right, omelette?
An omelette, no, but my older son, for some reason, became very adept at making omelettes.
Right.
The one who's 21.
Oh, I see,
He became very adept at making omelettes when he was about 12 or 13.
Really? Yeah. Right, jacket potato with baked beans.
That's pretty straightforward.
They can do that?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Right, cheese on toast.
Cheese on toast, yes.
Now, here's a challenge, cottage pie.
Cottage pie, they've never made that.
It's too.
But that's
involved.
not. But that's not difficult to make either.
Well, it's not. But I mean, it's involved, isn't it?
No, not really.
There's several processes involved.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of processes.
Where'd you get
involved.
the mashed potato from?
You boil some potatoes.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And then you drain the water out.
Yeah.
Then you add some butter, some cream if you wish, a little bit of mustard.
But then you've been cooking
some
meat
salt
at the
and pepper.
same time with carrots in it.
Yeah. Well, when you
that's-
make spaghetti bolognese, you also have to make the pasta in addition to the sauce.
Okay. Right, sausage and mash.
Sausage and mash. Yes, they make that.
Pasta bake.
Pasta bake, no.
Can they do a stir fry?
They've never tried that, but
Right.
they probably could.
Yeah,
if I
okay.
showed them.
I don't know what a pasta bake is anyway.
Pasta bake is like, do you remember in America you used to do this thing called baked ziti?
Big ziti.
Baked ziti.
Oh, baked ziti, yeah, I
I'm
do,
going to say
yeah,
Z. Z-I-T-I.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a sort of cheesy. You can
that's
put meat
right,
in
yeah.
it if you want.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, and ziti is that sort of big tube-like pasta.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah, I know
nice.
what you mean. Yeah,
Quite
okay.
nice.
Right, let's whip through these. Porridge.
Porridge, yes, definitely. They make their own porridge.
Dippy egg and soldiers.
Yes.
Let's boil an egg
Well, it's
then.
just boiled eggs, yeah.
Right, okay. Could they do a stew or a casserole?
That they haven't tried.
No.
That I mean, but again, it's very simple. I mean, if they wanted me to show them how to do it, you just get a big pot.
Yeah.
You put everything in it.
Yeah.
Put the lid on it and cook it for ages.
Yeah, just so I
pretty
get
straightforward.
criticised for saying put things in a pan and boil them. You don't.
No, it's not boiling it; it's stewing it.
Yeah, well, that's
Boiling?
the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
What do you put it on then?
You can sometimes do it in the oven if you wish.
You'll put it in the cooker.
But you put it basically on the top.
I put mine in the cooker.
On a. What do you mean a cooker?
I put mine in the oven.
In the oven.
In the oven.
What
yeah.
if you make a stew?
Yes.
I didn't know you made stew.
I make stews. I make them in my casserole dish.
Do you?
Put them in the oven.
What
yeah.
do you put in them?
Stew things.
Stew things.
Yeah. Well,
Like
you
what?
know.
Well, I don't know. I want to know what you put in it.
All right, at this time of the year, a big packet of winter vegetables from
Winter
Morrison's.
vegetables, yeah. Okay.
Chopped up meat, very lean.
Yes.
Carrots.
Like stewing steak, that kind of thing.
Yeah, stewing steak. A tin of...
Why are you looking at me like that?
Oxtail soup.
Oxtail soup.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, okay.
All right. Well, that'll put plenty of salt in
There'll
that.
be some turkey.
Yeah, some turkey. That's right. Excellent. Some chopped onion.
Chopped onion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any garlic?
No garlic. No
Any
mushrooms.
herbs?
No herbs.
No herbs.
Well, basil. I just put basil in. Yeah,
All right.
and then some.
Well, see that would. I mean, you can't really go wrong, right?
And then some mushrooms.
You put all that stuff in a big pot,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you cook it for long enough,
Yeah.
and it tastes fine.
Exactly.
It tastes great.
Right. Let's go through these quick. Pancakes.
Pancakes. I think one of them's tried making pancakes,
Right.
but it's not that easy because it's the tossing of the pancake that's the tough bit.
Pizza from scratch.
Pizza from scratch, yes.
i.e. a base and then put your stuff
Yes,
on the top of it.
in fact, they quite like to do that.
Right, okay. Lasagna.
What?
Lasagna.
Lasagna?
Yeah.
No, they haven't made that.
No, that's too complicated.
That is actually very complicated. Yeah, lasagna.
Is it? What, layers of pasta on
Well,
top
'cause
of
it-
meat?
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah,
sound
well,
that complicated to me.
Well, yeah, but it's not just layers of pasta and meat. You have to make a bechamel sauce. You have to make,
Bechamel.
yeah, like a white sauce.
Right,
you have
okay.
to make sure you're going to use ricotta cheese, or
Right.
you're going to use,
Right.
mozzarella.
Now, very quickly, macaroni cheese.
Macaroni cheese, yes.
Fairy cakes.
Fairy cakes, yes.
Roast chicken.
Roast, they've never done.
No, exactly. That's
No.
a big... chili con carne.
They've never tried that, but they like it.
Do they do their own beef burgers?
Well, I've tried to teach them to make their own.
Yeah, because you've shown... You say you just squeeze a bit of meat
Well,
together and that's it.
you can. I mean, there's different ways
Yeah.
of doing it, but we
Okay.
don't. We haven't let them near the barbecue yet because they're a bit young for that. So,
Okay,
so
just
no.
5 more. Meatballs.
Meatballs.
Same thing, really.
They used to help me make meatballs. Yes.
Okay, Victoria sponge
Yes.
for afters.
Yeah.
Well, you can't make a Victoria sponge.
Yeah.
Child of 12.
Yeah,
Victoria
my
sponge.
9-year-old makes Victoria sponge.
No.
Yes, he does.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, chocolate rice crispy cornflake cakes.
Yeah, they've done those. They've made those in school, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah. Apple crumble.
Apple crumble. They've never made that, but yes, they know how to.
And the last one, scones.
Scones. Yeah, well, scones are actually very... Of all of those things you've just described,
Yeah.
scones are one of the toughest.
Yeah, is
because
it?
to get them the right consistency... And the right size...
Well, I love scones with fresh butter on.
Do you like them with-
really rich Kerrygold butter?
Yeah.
Love them.
Do you like the fruit scones or the cheese scones?
I like both.
Really? What about clotted cream and jam?
No, too heavy that
Really?
for me. Too
I
heavy.
love that. Whenever I go to the West Country, I gorge on that stuff. It's far too bad for me.
Well,
But
that doesn't surprise me looking at you.
yeah, thank you very much indeed. We are the Two Mikes. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. We're going to go over to China in the next hour to find out what's going on there.
I've just seen Bobbers.
Oh, really? You sure that wasn't Karanka you were seeing there?
Karanka?
No, it's not Andrew Fierce. It's just Karanka. Now, well, look, so we got a very special guest coming on there. Paul Parker, former Man United player, right?
Brilliant
Let me
guy.
just read you this from Lee. What's Porky on about? It's a good thing to get your kids cooking so you can cook more than fish and chips when you're older.
Yeah.
So if you'd been taught how to cook when you were younger,
yes.
You wouldn't be eating out of a can all the time.
Yeah, but when I was brought up, beans on toast was a staple diet.
Well, certainly, not for me, it wasn't.
Certainly at 3 o'clock in the morning when you came in from the King's Disco, you know, after
that's hardly when you
being
were
on the
growing
pull
up.
all night.
Well, that's not when you were growing up. That's when you were a teenager.
Yeah, but when I was growing up, my mum made all the food in the house.
Nobody was she not a very good cook?
She was a brilliant cook.
Really?
But nobody else ever made anything. My mum used to make things like suet puddings. She used to make
why didn't she teach you how to do it?
Beef and mushroom pies with fantastic pastry.
But why didn't you want her to teach you how to make it?
Every Wednesday. I mean, she made everything.
Yeah, but why didn't you get her to teach you how to do it?
Well, I had no interest in learning how to cook in those days. The food was always on the table.
You thought it was women's work, didn't you?
No, I didn't. But that's the sort of mother my mum was, you know. It was always there.
All right, let's talk to Paul Parker
Indeed.
and find out what he's got to say for himself about this big weekend coming up. Paul, very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning to you too as well.
Sorry to keep you waiting with that nonsense about the food, but Porky was accusing me of being unusual because my children can cook.
Yeah.
And, that's a big thing these days.
It certainly is, yeah. I'll tell you what, Paul, Steven Gerrard's announced his retirement. How do you feel about that? And how do you rate him in the pantheon of great players, as you were yourself?
I think Steven went a little bit beyond me, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought he was a fantastic player for what he achieved for Liverpool.
Yep.
And obviously, I thought during his era of playing for England, I think he was, with all the times he played, he was mostly England's most consistent player over the duration he played. Obviously, there wasn't anything there for him as saying, like, great moments, or maybe winning something or getting close to winning anything. We keep talking about the golden generation, but you look at him as a player.
Yeah.
Mostly 9 times out of 10, if England had a game, Gerrard would mostly be our best player. A player who played at a certain level week in, week out, and to do what he'd done, to play at that level in the games and the club he played for is a massive achievement in football. The amount of games he played as well.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to hold his head up high for what you achieve as a footballer on and off the pitch.
Sure. And there's a lot of people saying that he should go back to Liverpool and get some kind of coaching role. But Jurgen Klopp has said, it's a great idea, but maybe he needs to think about it before he goes to coaching in such a sort of high-profile situation.
Yes.
What do you think? Do you think he'd be better off trying to go somewhere like MK Dons, who did approach him, although he said he didn't really fancy that?
To be honest, ironically, I've just been reading something, one of the papers today, saying that he's actually seems like he's going to go in and become an academy coach. I've been reading that, but at the moment it's easy to write stuff with stories like this, and given everything at the moment in the media, there's a lot of space to fill, so you can write whatever you want, and it might turn out the way you want at some point in time. You can say, yes, I was right. I think that you might just need a little bit of time away from it. Is it right for him to go back to the club he played for and the club he played for and loved so much, to go and look for a job there? Maybe it might be better to go away somewhere else. I think he was right in what he said. It's too early for him to be a manager at this moment in time.
Yeah, I totally agree. You've got to learn your trade, haven't you?
You have to. To be honest, we look at the manager of Hoffenheim and how old he is. I think he kills it. He kills it all, him at the moment in his 20s, and he's having a great time. But that's a different level of football.
Different level.
I'm looking at Steven Gerrard, and I'm thinking to myself, just go somewhere else and go and learn it. Become a coach under somebody somewhere else, maybe away from Liverpool. And my way of looking, I'm looking at some of the great managers been over the years, and English managers.
Yep.
And I don't just mean counting what they achieved at winning Premier Leagues or anything. Who've been successful in their own right. There's managers who have come from the lower divisions and have learned the trade down there. And when they have got to the top division, they know all aspects of football. They know the personalities of footballers, young players, disgruntled players, players who have come from the lower divisions, may lack the technical ability of a top player, but they've got something different they add to a top side. And all that there is something that Steven Gerrard can learn, maybe away from a Liverpool Football Club, because you can never learn those things at a big club. You have to go down there and be in it. And I think Steve Cuts, for me, seems like one of those people who wants to go and do that. He doesn't want to suddenly, because he's been a top player, suddenly want to hopefully manage a Premier League side, because as we've seen already, that goes completely wrong. We look at Roy Keane, we look at Gareth Southgate.
You're absolutely right.
You can't step straight in and do those jobs from just playing the game.
Well, that's the other thing as well. I mean, you look around the Premier League. You don't see too many young English managers anyway. I mean, they're very much in a minority. And the other thing that people have been talking about a lot recently is Wayne Rooney. He had a great game last night for Man United in the Europa League.
He did.
But when you see someone like Steven Gerrard retiring, I know he's a bit older than Wayne. Inevitably, you're going to ask, well, when is Wayne going to decide that maybe he's going to retire?
Yeah, well, Wayne, to be honest, I think there's 4 or 5 years difference between the two. Mm. So Wayne would suddenly think he could maybe go and do what Steven Gerrard's done. But I think we have to look at it and say, if Wayne can actually get and still play at the levels of what Steven Gerrard did, at that age as well, then he's done really well, given where he is at this moment in time. So it's going to be maybe a little bit more of he's got to, it's going to become a personal battle for him to achieve those high levels, and he's got to get himself back to playing to those high levels and consistently, because great players are judged by what they do week in, week out, not once every month.
Indeed.
So Wayne's got to kind of pull his finger out and go and do that. And yes, he did play well last night against Feyenoord.
Yep.
But then there's a Premier League game at the weekend, and that one's a little bit more important than up against a team that's vying to win another Dutch title, because there's a big difference between winning the Dutch title and actually trying to get in the Champions League in the Premier League.
No, I totally agree with you, Paul. I was about to say that, okay, it's all very good and, 4-0 against Feyenoord. Who are Feyenoord, and what about mixing it in the Premier League? I totally agree with you. Nevertheless, when Wayne gets the opportunity to make a statement, at least he took it, didn't he? That was a stage last night in which he could play, and he certainly did.
He did, yes, and then now everyone's looking at, we're going to have to, leading up to today, and then obviously tomorrow morning there's going to be bits in the paper, and everyone now is going to be scrutinising Wayne Rooney to see what he does in his next game. The big question is, does he start the next game? That is the big question. Is he going to be given the opportunity to take a good performance into his next game? Yeah. That's what he wants. That's what he desperately wants. And even if you've had a bad performance as a professional footballer, you want the next game to come around as quick as possible to get it out of your system.
Of course.
And more than anything, get it out of other people's minds as well. Because people only remember so many times negative things, especially at the moment with Wayne Rooney. So he wants another game to go and get another good performance. Is Mourinho going to give him that opportunity to go and do that?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Mourinho doesn't seem. You don't see. It's not very clear whether Mourinho wants him to start every game or not. I mean, my sense is that Mourinho doesn't want him to start every game, and would be quite happy for him to play in the Europa League and keep his connection with the club that way. But when you got Rashford and you got Ibrahimovic and you got Martial and all these other options. I mean, does he get into a Man United team every time?
I believe, and I have been critical of Wayne Rooney, but I'm critical in the sense of I just believe that there's only one position he can play for Manchester United. For Manchester United, I have the possibility of getting the best out of him, and that is in that role that Ibrahimovic is playing. In my opinion, you keep trying to fit him into midfield, and square pegs, round holes comes to mind. And it just isn't going to work on a long-term basis. So you play him where, in a position he knows well. Okay, he can't run in behind people, but he's been around that area, and obviously his positional sense is what he can learn, what he does knows, can help him. Look at Ronaldo. Ronaldo's reinvented himself into a centre-forward now. He isn't skipping past. He isn't doing double leg overs anymore, going past people with pace and power. He is knowing where to go and be in the box, the ball's delivered, or he knows where to go and stand for crosses being pulled back. And Ronaldo's reinvented himself in a different style, a different position. So Wayne maybe can go and do that in that role, because when Ibrahimovic plays, it's all about how many big high balls they can put in the box for him to knock back. I mean, it's like watching the new age Martin Chivers play at the moment in time.
Martin Chivers, that is a name from the past.
It certainly is.
Now, well, the thing is, Ibrahimovic has just signed a deal with Manchester United to stay for another season after this as well. So
has he signed? Let me ask you this question, gentlemen: has he signed that deal, or is the press saying that that they want him, that the club wants him to sign? Because I haven't read anything telling me that he has signed.
No, it's on the table. I think you're right, Paul. It's on the table. And when he was speaking publicly the other day, he said, the option is there for me. I want another season. I will stay another season, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think he's going to sign it.
Yeah, I would think
he's not got really anywhere else to
go. To be honest, I would like someone to be there for someone who wants it, who's earned the right. And at this moment in time, he hasn't done enough. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of United fans out there think, yeah, okay, he's a big name, whatever, but we've seen good players come here who haven't been given who haven't been given another contract when we thought, they've just about done enough, and all of a sudden, a good early start, then he's kind of petered away a little bit. Let's see if it can actually get going again and show a bit of consistency, because the second year, we don't know what's going to happen in this season yet, let alone what's going to happen next season.
Yep. No.
Manchester United have to qualify for the Champions League, otherwise it just doesn't make any sense for him to be there a second season.
Sure.
I think that may well be very right. Paul, thank you very much
great
indeed.
to
Paul
speak
Parker,
to you again. Thanks very much
Manchester
indeed.
United England defender. Why did you keep interrupting him and saying that, yes and no and whatever over the top of what he was talking there?
I was keeping up
Agreed.
with
you know how when they say,
what's the problem?
Well, because it sounded...
I was keeping up with him.
Yeah, but it sounded like you were patronising him, though.
I was not patronising him. I was merely making him, letting him know...
that you agreed with him?
Assuring him that we were taking a deep and internal interest in his narrative.
Yeah. I liked his new phrase, by the way, about Ronaldo, double leg overs. That's great, that.
Double leg overs. Yeah. We like those.
I think that's step overs.
Now, old Derek from Pencoeth, he's the bog cleaner, he says, and I think this is addressed to you, so I'll read it on your behalf.
Oh, yes.
He says, Mike, i.e. is in Mike Graham, yet again the self-called man of the people calls other people the great unwashed. Does he think people like me are cleaner or the great unwashed? He is a snob, says Derek in Pencoeth.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but I mean, you see, he's taken that completely out of context. I didn't say anything about the great unwashed.
Yes, you did. You said that if you were to be invited into the director's box at Southampton, and I said to you, what would you then do with your other tickets?
Yes.
You said you would give them to the great unwashed.
Yes, well,
That's what you said.
Yes, but that's a sort of throwaway statement.
Throwaway.
I mean, you've got to remember, I refer to him as the great unwashed very affectionately. You know what I mean? As the masses. The people. I'm from those. That sort of background.
Well, you claim to be that guy that's in charge of the Liberal Democrats that we had on the night of the American election.
Tim Peake or something.
Well, I'm going to start calling him Tim Spanner.
What was his name?
Tim Farron.
Tim Farron.
He was on Question Time last night.
Oh, was he? Yeah.
Claiming to be the only leader of a political party who was from the working class.
Oh, right, okay.
This is the guy who...
Which working class?
Well, I don't know, but he claims that... And this is the guy who came on our show and said that he thought there should be another referendum. Do you remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Let's have another referendum as soon as we can. Yeah. Because I come from the working classes.
Yes.
What about the workers?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you see. Yeah. You're claiming to be from the working class, but actually being a complete and utter snob.
I am from the working classes, mate.
I talk sport.
Battled my way up from the bottom.
Right. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and there will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. The Colts and the Steelers is underway. Steelers are leading by 14-0.
Oh, sorry, I'm just yawning there. I think it's because I've been on the secret mission all week. It could be the Steelers. I'm sorry, yeah.
You know where the Steelers play?
No.
Why not?
Don't care.
You don't care?
So, what's their name again?
The Steelers.
The Steelers,
Think about it.
Steelers. I bet they come from... Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Correct.
Yeah, the Steelers.
Have you been to Pittsburgh? It's a great city, actually.
Yes,
Pittsburgh.
I have. I went there when the Stones were playing.
Oh yeah.
Although I wasn't
Maybe
there
they played
for the
at
Stones.
Steelers Stadium.
They would have done. But I tell you why I went there. I went there because a little child in England had gone out there to have a liver transplant.
Oh, right, okay.
Because they've got a hospital there which specialises in children's,
paediatrics,
paediatrics and all that kind of stuff. And it was amazing, actually, because it was one of the first ever. I know it sounds routine now to give a child a liver transplant and all that kind of stuff.
Well, not really. I mean, it's still pretty. The
child was only like 15 months old or something like that, and it was one of these where the local village had raised all the money and paid for the couple to go out there, and it was one of those great, happy ending stories. Little child had the liver transplant, but I remember seeing her before and after the operation, and for the operation she was as yellow as a banana, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was horrible, and you thought, God, a poor little thing. And we went back a couple of weeks later, and there we were taking pictures of her bouncing up and down on one of those things with the bunny ears on and all that kind of stuff. Space opera and all that kind of stuff.
How about this from Dylan? He says, maybe we could have a new segment called Patronising Porky.
What?
Porky patronises a guest. That'd be good, actually. That would work quite well.
No, I hope it didn't sound like that. I was just... I remember Paul, when did he leave Chelsea and go to United?
I think he did,
yeah, because Chelsea weren't a huge club in those days.
Well, about 52 or 53.
Yeah, he is. But no, he was a terrific fullback, a terrific footballer. I remember the transfer when he went from Chelsea United. And I'm sorry if people think I sounded patronising. I just like to get myself involved with the guest and make the guest aware that I'm very interested in what they're saying.
Yes,
you know?
Of course you do. That's not always what the case it seems like, though. Kiwi Junior says this. Porky seems to be suffering from Trumpism disease. Says one thing and literally 2 minutes later completely denies it and believes it.
What do you mean? You mean I'm not pushing the envelope?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to prosecute Hillary Clinton and lock her up. Special prosecutor is going to be put on the case. No, I'm not going to do that.
No, we're going to let Hillary go.
I believe that the climate change was actually invented by the Chinese. Actually, now I'm not going to pull away from the climate change summit revelations, and we're going to stick with that.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what.
And also, Obamacare, we'll stick with that as well.
Obamacare, that's right. Yeah, even though it's very complicated.
Yeah.
There's about 120 different divisions of Obamacare, depending on what your status in American society
very complicated.
is. And that's why it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Listen, talking about climate change, right? One of my scientific journals, dropped on the mat yesterday.
Oh, did it?
To reveal that there is as much ice in the Antarctic now as there was when Captain Scott and Shackleton were exploring the
same area,
the frozen continent.
Yeah.
And so,
is there not a case of in one end of the sort of the planet, if you like the Antarctic?
There's more ice.
There's more ice,
yes.
and in the Arctic there's less ice.
I think that is it.
It's sort of like it's shifting.
But do you know how they worked out that there's more ice there now than there was?
Well, I would imagine they measured it.
No, it wasn't that. What they did is they studied in detail the logs and the reports of Captain Robert Scott and Sir Ernest Shackleton. And was that Guy Oates involved in that one?
Oates, yes, I believe he was.
Yeah, I'm going out now. Maybe sometime.
Yeah,
and all that. Yeah, that was a very British gentlemanly thing to say, wasn't it?
Well, I suppose so.
Sometimes when we're in like a boozer or something like that, and then you suddenly retire because you need a cigarette. I think you should always say in future, "I'm going out now. Maybe sometime." Yeah.
Or in your case, sometimes when you slip outside to have a cigarette and then you disappear altogether.
What do you mean?
Well, you just don't come back.
I've never done that.
Yeah, you have.
What do I do
You've
that
told
for?
me many times that you've done that.
Oh, I do sometimes. Right, if I'm
when you pretend that you're going somewhere or you're going to go to the toilet or something.
Yeah, I
you
do.
just disappear.
I do.
Just leave.
Sometimes if I'm getting bored stiff by the people around me, I don't like to just say, you're boring and I'm going home. Yeah. So I normally say things like, I'm just nipping to the loo, thank you.
Oh, I've just got to make a call.
Or I'm just going to make a call with my phone, and I deliberately pull my phone out, wave it around, start tapping a number out, and then I go outside, then I just go home or go to another bar where I will feel easier in my own company. Yeah, that's right, yeah. And sometimes...
It's not a very sociable person.
Sometimes the loo one is good because you can go in the loo in one... down one corridor.
Well, it depends on the layout.
Well, of course it does, but then you come out...
obviously, if you go in, you have to walk out past them.
Yeah, you're not
going...
No, but then you come out and the corridor turns left rather than right, and you think, this is great, I'll slip out the back door.
You've never had to go to do something like that and then sort of try and get out the window?
No, I've never had to. Although, funny enough, I was speaking to... Remember the great Liverpool comedian Stan?
Stan Boardman.
Stan Boardman. He comes out chippy. I did a gig once. It was a football club night.
A gig.
Yeah, with his son.
Not a concert.
Yeah. Like a presentation thing with his son Paul, who's also a comedian. And unfortunately, they didn't like us very much. So no, this is serious.
Wasn't this one of the ones that Brazil was supposed to turn up to with you, and he didn't turn up?
It may have been, but I'm not blaming Al for it. But we did it. But anyway, they didn't like us. And, we always insist on those things because it's how dodgy it can be, on getting the money before you go on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes, the crowd get raucous and all that, and then the organisers get cold feet. So we had the money in our pockets, and halfway through the gig, they thought, I don't know what's going on, but the crowd don't like it. So they...
were you upsetting people?
Well, they were just booing us and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if we were saying the wrong things or something. So they actually came to us at the end of the show and demanded our money back. And seriously. So Paul said, "I'm not feeling very well. I'm just nipping to the loo," and he went out the window.
Did he?
He did. Yeah, classic.
Oh, he left you holding the baby, as it were.
Well, I made an exit in the other direction by telling them something else. I said, "Look, let me go and talk to my agent's here. I gave the money to him after you gave it to me. Let me go and find him, and we'll sort something out." And I disappeared as well.
Oh, okay.
But listen, getting back to the Antarctic, right?
Yes.
It says here, logbooks recovered from the doomed expeditions of Captain Robert Scott and Sir Ernest Shackleton show that the amount of sea ice has not changed in 100 years. Only one region, the Wendell Sea, has seen any reduction at all.
What about all that footage of like icebergs and bits of iceberg falling off into the sea because it's melting?
We've
seen all that, haven't we?
Yeah, but that is the Arctic, isn't it? Because if you think about it, the famous picture is the polar bear clinging onto the last bit of ice, isn't it?
That's right. As it floats away.
Yeah, and polar bears are in the Arctic, aren't they? Yeah. So, which is north, obviously. It says the team reached their goal only to find their rival, the Norwegian Roald Amundsen.
Amundsen,
had beaten them by 5 weeks.
Yeah.
They then perished on the return journey. I don't know why anybody would go on a trip like that. I think they're mad.
Well, they were called explorers.
Yeah,
so they explored places that nobody had been to before.
Yeah, but
not much point in being an explorer and going down, Turin High Street and going,
that's true.
Everybody's been here before, but I think I'll just give you my version of it.
Yeah, oh, look, there's the Alps.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened was, a decade before... Oh, yeah, did you realise that a decade before he perished, Scott had also gone there, but his boat sunk and he had to be rescued?
Well, I remember it wasn't his first mission, was it? It wasn't his first mission. The doomed mission was not the first one.
It certainly wasn't.
I think those guys were incredibly brave. I mean, they were literally going out into the unknown.
Yeah,
they had no idea what they were going to find.
I totally agree.
They had no idea whether they were going to be prepared for the coldness of it.
I totally agree, but that made it pointless to me.
No.
Completely pointless. They couldn't even see what they were aiming for, if you see what I mean.
Surely what you've just told me, which is that by comparing their records and the records today, that proves that it wasn't pointless, because it proves that actually you're able now to conclude that there's not a problem.
Well, whatever you say. But anyway, the results...
whatever I say.
Is that
your new way of putting me off?
Not really,
Because normally you say, oh, yeah, very interesting, and you carry on.
Yeah.
So now whatever you say is going to be the new mantra.
It says the results from the heroic age, that's what they called it. I mean, heroism is all right, but death is, not as good as living. So it says the heroic age of polar exploration suggests that ice has not melted in the last 100 years. The logbooks give details of ice cover, the state of the sea, the weather, and the wildlife spotted from the deck of the ships that eventually killed them because they got blocked in ice.
Right.
The study implies Antarctic sea ice levels in the early 1900s are the same as today at between 5.3 million and 7.4 million square kilometres. Estimates suggest levels were significantly higher in the 50s, although there is no specific evidence to support that.
No, indeed. Well, I mean, the world is an organic sort of planet, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always changing. It's always moving around.
That's right, it is, yes.
Now, coming up, I've got some bad news for you about the Royal Navy news.
Oh, really?
You may already know about this from your...
Can you get any word?
For how long they took to record it?
It took nearly 3 months, so they must have done it...
it was in the early evening of Thursday, November the 24th. Four young men, the oldest of whom was 26, the youngest was 23, arrived at a North London recording studio to start work on a song one of them had written in Spain weeks before.
The SS?
That's the story.
Right, OK. And the song was written by Paul McCartney, who wanted an alter ego for the Beatles. And that's why they called it Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
And it was recorded at Abbey Road, of course.
That's right.
And the only reason I'm talking about this, actually, is because quite a few people were tweeting me some very interesting little pictures over the course of the day.
That's right.
Including one of John Lennon arriving at Abbey Road, carrying a guitar, which I thought was interesting.
Very interesting.
Because normally you would expect all those guitars
to be inside the studio.
Or to him carrying it, but he wasn't even carrying it in a case. He was literally carrying it by the neck of the guitar.
Studio 2. That must have been the era when you saw the Beatles driving around in a coach-built white Rolls-Royce around Maida Vale.
Well, that's the white Rolls-Royce that I told you I saw when I was on my way to school.
Yeah.
And apparently, I mean, what people are saying, and this is a piece I'm reading in one of the newspaper reports this morning, what the Beatles had done in that room in the intervening period changed popular music and then popular culture, reshaping the century in ways that reverberate still.
Oh, I totally agree. The Beatles were the biggest and most dominant factor in the reassessment of culture in Britain in the 20th century more than anything else, except the Second World War.
Yeah.
In fact, they followed on from the Second World War and kind of rebuilt and redefined the structure of Britain, without a shadow of a doubt, in all sorts of ways, in what people wore, in the way people thought, and enlightenment in political matters, enlightenment in religious matters, enlightenment in relationship matters, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Enlightenment in behavioural matters, when it came to drugs and all that kind of stuff. They changed everything.
They certainly did.
I'll tell you something else, because it's so interesting that you came up with that, because I was going to tell you something else about Abbey Road.
Oh, yeah.
And that was that in one of my musical journals, I discovered today that Abbey Road was in fact the location, the studios, for recordings made originally by Sir Edward Elgar and the violist, our old mate Yehudi Menuhin.
That's right.
And they started there in 1933. Now, what I've got here is...
Well, it was an EMI. It was EMI studio, basically, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't then. This is the interesting thing. Let me tell you the story. Number 3, Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Right? That's the address of the Abbey Road studios. In Leafy St John's Wood, northwest London, was built as a townhouse in 1813, right? Just a normal house.
Right.
It had 9 bathrooms, 2 servants' rooms and a wine cellar. So a big house, obviously, right?
Very big house.
Now, the Georgian building was acquired by the Gramophone Company. They were just called the Gramophone Company.
Yeah.
In 1931, a few months before it merged with the Columbia Gramophone Company of America to form Electric and Musical Industries Limited. Think about it.
EMI.
EMI, thank you very much indeed. EMI converted it into studios for the recording of classical music. Pathé filmed the opening ceremony on November the 12th, 1931, at which Sir Edward Elgar... What's he famous for?
For Edward Elgar.
Yeah.
It's that very flowery sort of...
Land of Hope and Glory.
Land of Hope and Glory,
Thank you, yeah. For which Sir Edward Elgar conducted the London Symphony Orchestra in a recording of his Pomp and Circumstance March No. 1.
Actually, that was the one I was thinking of, Pomp and Circumstance. Yeah.
Pomp and Circumstance, March No. 1, Opus 39, better known as... Land of Hope and Glory. Yeah. Playwright George Bernard Shaw was in the audience. In the newsreel, the technician is seen giving the cue for the maestro, I love that word, the maestro, to begin, and Elgar delivering the dry instruction to the orchestra to play this tune as though you have never heard it before. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. But without an audience, presumably.
Without an audience, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think of the number of famous names that have now gone through Abbey Road...
That's right.
It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah. It's
I mean, when I used to go...
The Beatles will always be... associated with it more than anybody else.
Well, Pink Floyd as well, probably. I mean, they did a lot of their albums.
Yeah, but no, the reason I say, Mike, for the obvious reason, the Beatles actually made a record called Abbey Road, and it was about the studios and a picture of the crossing. By the way,
when I used to go to school that way every morning, my mother used to drive us down past Abbey Road Studios, and you could never see the street sign because people just kept nicking it.
That's right.
And as soon as it was replaced by what was then the London Borough of St John's Wood, I think.
Yes.
It would literally be up for about half a minute, and somebody would take
it again.
It doesn't seem to happen so much now. I mean, every time you drive there now, there's loads of people trying to cross the road.
Oh, they're still to this day?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Absolutely all the time.
Still trying to... It's amazing people have been knocked down over this.
You can play a sort of game of cat and mouse with them as well, because inevitably they're tourists from some other part of the world.
David is just telling me, because David, our producer and chief techo, says that it happens 24 hours a day because he lives around the corner and people are always trying to do it, and when the roads are quiet.
Well, it does happen, but it's quite amusing sometimes because they'll sort of step out and not sure whether the cars are going to stop, and people who got sort of fed up with going that way will just plough through them.
That's right.
They can never get the picture done.
Well, I'll tell you something which I picked up over the years.
Yes.
And
Have you never been there?
No.
I'm surprised you've never made some kind of pilgrimage.
No, I haven't. No. Well, I've been to St John's Wood, and I've been to Lord's Cricket Ground, and I've stayed in hotels
it's not far
around
from
there.
there. It's around the corner from Lord's.
Exactly. But no, what I was going to say was, and I picked this up years ago, and I keep meaning to tell you, the original title for that LP was to be Everest. And they employed...
Abbey Road?
Yes,
right.
It's to be Everest.
Why?
I don't know why, but they were going to call it Everest. And they employed a photographer, and the job of the photographer was to fly to Kathmandu with the Beatles and take pictures of them on Everest.
On Everest?
Seriously,
but not at the summit, presumably.
Well, as far up as you could get it commercially, you know what I mean? That was the whole, they're going to hire a helicopter, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Beatles came in to be told this is the plan. And John Lennon's the first to say, I'm not going to Everest. I don't...
Because by that stage, they'd already stopped touring.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't want to get on and off planes.
No,
whose mad idea was that then?
I have no idea, but I mean, I'll research it a bit more and find out. But it's going to be called Everest. They're going to fly the Beatles out. Anyway, one by one, the Beatles said, I'm not going.
Yeah.
You know, Everest. And
that is a very stupid idea.
Exactly. So this photographer who'd been paid, thousands because he was going to be away for 2 weeks and he was going to have to go with these difficult, pictures and go take
hire
all
a bunch of Sherpas, presumably.
Hire a bunch of Sherpas, take all this equipment with him and all that kind of stuff. Suddenly he said, well, what else can we do? And somebody came up and said, what about the zebra crossing outside the front door? He said, all right, give it a try. And I think they spent about 3 hours and took about 600 takes of that and eventually came up with it. And that was it. Just imagine if we'd never seen them walking across that zebra crossing.
I know. Well, these are the things, these iconic sort of things. A bit like, the Pink Floyd album with Dark Side of the Moon with the prism and all the colours and then like the flying pigs one and all animals. Yeah. Captain Scott was born just a stone's throw from Plymouth Argyle's ground, says Nick.
Really?
It's a piece of interesting, sort of, what I call useless information, but interesting useless
information. Yeah, very interesting information, indeed.
Heroism is all right, but death is not as good as living. Mr. Parry strikes again with pure enlightenment.
Well, it is.
Says Stevie.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think the original quote was... a dead hero has less use than a live non-hero, if you see what I mean.
Stevie says there used to be a link to a live stream via camera pointing at the zebra crossing on Abbey Road 24/7 if you wanted to watch it. But I guess that's not there anymore.
No, I suppose not. I suppose people have said to go without it. But all fascinating history and the history and the culture of the country in which we grew up.
So will you celebrate later on by going home and playing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band?
Not at this time of night.
Why not?
Because it might upset the neighbours and all that kind of
You've
stuff.
got a pair of headphones on.
But I could do that.
Or you know what? You can listen to it in the car.
I might tune it into the car. I was just about to say that on the way home. Indeed. That's a very good thought.
Now, here's the news I was going to bring you about the Royal Navy.
Oh, yes.
Did you know that 4 NATO ships visited HM Naval Base Devonport before a European trip quite recently, right?
Yes.
Training exercise off the Plymouth coast. Yeah. However, unfortunately, one of the Type 45 frigates that you've talked about in the past had to be towed back because of technical issues. They basically broke down.
Well, they have broken down before. These are the ships.
What's the point of having naval ships that break down?
Well, there's no point, obviously, but I mean, something's gone wrong.
I'm sorry, we won't be able to join you in your this sort of armoured skirmish because we've broken down. We'll wait for the AA to turn up.
The big problem with those 45s is that they have difficulties working in warm water. This is, you've heard about this row.
Well, this was in the Plymouth Sound, though.
I know it's in Plymouth Sound, and that is a...
that's not considered warm water,
No, it's not by any stretch of the imagination. But having said that, Mike, I tell you what I picked up on through my Jane's Fighting Ships Chronicles the other day. The US Navy they spent $4.4 billion on a revolutionary new warship, which looks just like... flat. I mean, it's got no projectiles because it avoids radar. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, like flat, like as in 2-dimensional flat?
Yes, just like that. It's got no guns sticking off the decks and all that. It's completely surface.
Right. Like a submarine type look.
Yeah, that's right. It's like a submarine on the sea. You're absolutely right. And guess what? It had to be towed out of the Panama Canal last week because it broke down.
That's not good.
Advanced warfare machines break down.
Well, they shouldn't, though.
No, of course they shouldn't, but they do. They do, because the capability is being stretched all the time, what they can do.
Well, somebody captured the pictures of this thing being towed back. It was HMS Duncan, apparently.
Duncan, yeah.
And that actually looks quite unusual as well, because they're very different looking from, say, Belfast that we see sometimes when we go for a drink over in
they're massively different because they have flat surfaces so that they don't attract radar. And not only that, but I mean, the next generation of ships will hide all their firepower inside the ship, whereas now, for the last 100 years, the idea has been put the firepower outside the ship to frighten people.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But now you're going to frighten them from so far away they can't see you.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Right, now, coming up, we're going to talk about such military matters because we're going to talk to our good friend, Mr. Peter Smith, over in China.
Indeed.
To find out from him what's been going on in that part of the world, how they're going to react to Donald Trump being president of the United States, how trade is going to be affected, a bit of Brexit maybe as well, and find out whether there's any football takeovers in the offing.
Yep.
This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Way out in the water, see it swimming.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, of course. Lots of people sending us notes on Twitter to say that the actual video feed, the live webcam, is still going on Abbey Road. And in fact, you can see quite a few people lining up in some of the pictures there. But apparently it's still there. And also, of course, a couple of people saying that it was going to be named Everest after a brand of cigarettes.
Yes, that's right. Apparently the sound engineer inside Abbey Road, his favourite cigarettes were Everest. So they thought, well, why not? And then they transferred their attentions to the mountain. But as I say, the Beatles didn't want to go to Everest, so it never happened.
No, indeed.
And thank God it didn't, otherwise we wouldn't have the legend that is
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road, yeah.
Well, let's go to another far-flung part of the world, not Everest, but to Beijing. Peter Smith is our man in China. We're going to find out from him what's been going on in his part of the world. Peter, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning again from Shanghai, not Beijing.
Oh, you're in Shanghai. Sorry.
Good morning, Peter.
I don't know why I always think you're in
That's right.
Beijing, and you always correct me as well. It's very remiss of me. Now, let's talk a little bit about the climate, not so much the weather, but the political climate, because obviously with Donald Trump about to take over in the United States, lots of noises being made about the relationship changing between the UK and the US and the US and Russia. What's the Chinese reaction to it so far?
Well, there's really been two ways that they're kind of fainting the ascension of Donald Trump really to the White House. One of them, in a way, is really, what does this say? A number of the papers have commented on what does this actually say about democracy, really. The party, of course, you might know over here, is not really the greatest exponent of democracy. And this sort of thing really gives grist to the mill that if a man like Donald Trump, who's had all these scandals and, really is, should we say, not really known for being somebody who puts people first, should we say,
right.
What's it really say that somebody like him has actually risen to the top through this democratic system? So that's one way that they're looking at it. But the other way, of course, is what that means for the relations between China and the US regarding trade. Of course, many of the papers are saying that if Donald Trump really is going to impose this, I think it's a 45% import tariff he's been proposing on lots of goods made in China and imported to America, then there will be tit for tat. Whether that actually really comes around, we don't know. I mean, they're talking about reducing things like iPhones, sales of iPhones in China, also sales of American cars. It could get a bit nasty, but my inkling is I think it won't be as bad as people think.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, Pete, Donald Trump, the president-elect, has rode back on so many of the stronger and more outrageous policies he was touting during the election campaign, that inevitably his views on China will have to go along with that, because China's the most important thing he's got to deal with. Bearing in mind that America is, at the moment, the most powerful and richest country in the world, and it's certainly going to be usurped by China at some stage. He's managing decline in America, and you don't do that by antagonising the people who are looming, around, about to take you over.
That's it, and I think when the American people as well realise that how many of their goods these days are dependent upon Chinese imports, components and everything, and if you're going to start imposing 45% tariffs, there will be, there'll be an exponential rise in prices over there, and really as well, I mean, I know we've been rolling back worldwide on this liberalisation. Really, the trade liberalisation, with kind of rolling that back. Britain, of course, and Brexit as well. We've got to see how it goes there. But I think long term, I think he's going to have to be sat down. I think, along with many of his proposed policies, he will be sat down and told that, look, we have to keep the Chinese on board. I mean, I can't see any other way. But regarding the Chinese reaction over here, I mean, I think they've been quite pragmatic, to say the truth. They've been saying, look, this is the situation. We're going to have to work with the guy, and that's the way it is. And a very much similar reaction to what we've heard from leaders in Europe.
Yeah, but I also think, Peter, the Chinese might have raised a glass or two the night that Donald Trump became the next president of the United States and said to themselves, everybody criticises us because we don't have what you'd call pure Western democracy, and yet when you see pure Western democracy in practice, it produces people like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they might now now feel completely justified in maintaining the political system they have.
Well, that's the first point, really. I said it. I mean, that's one of the things that has been touted over here, that, look, democracy has been put around as something that the Western countries have, but look what it gets you in the end.
Well, also, I mean, the fact that an awful lot of people in Western countries are now arguing the toss about whether democracy is any good on the basis that the result wasn't what they wanted.
Yeah, well, that's true. But also, what I'm saying is, Peter, in China, I'm sorry to reiterate the point you made when you first came on, but they've also got the world's most efficient economy as well. So, it's a win-win situation, having, a non-democratic political situation with a booming business economy.
Absolutely, but there are voices over here as well, and who do respect Trump. And what it's seen as is that respect for that is this hard man thing. We see the same thing in Russia. As well, there's a lot of people who also respect. In Russia, he's very popular. Putin. It's all about the idea that large countries should be led by strong, hard men. Usually, so a lot of the Chinese are also kind of actually thinking that Trump is a positive thing for America.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk.
The country, and they do respect him.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk in the States, of course, about whether he's going to divest himself of his commercial interests, which he seems reluctant to do. Yeah. And nobody seems quite sure whether he's going to do that or not. Does he have any big interests in China?
No, not so far. I mean, we'll see. Maybe something will come out. Of course, he's been related. He's got a lot of Chinese suppliers, but that's the same as.
Yeah.
Same as many businesses. And of course, China has been he's been talking about throwing the Chinese steel on the market and the way it's flooding the market and bringing down the prices worldwide. Well, he's been one of the biggest buyers of Chinese steel for his building.
Right.
So really, he can't, there's a lot of hypocrisy in what Trump goes on about. And,
I think a lot of the people
direct.
I think a lot of the people that voted for Trump will become slightly disappointed that he's going to act just like every other politician that said one thing and did something completely different. Let's talk about Facebook, though, because obviously, as you say, China's a market that everybody wants to be in. A story popped up this week that Mark Zuckerberg had sort of authorised censorship software for Facebook in China in the hopes that the Chinese would allow Facebook to operate there. How's that gone down?
Well, yes, but of course that's not something which will be put about by the media over here. That's something which that most of the Chinese people will simply not know about.
Right.
However, I have actually spoken about it with some of my Chinese friends, and indeed my wife Kong as well. She's got a Facebook account, and I think that there's two things. If you get international Chinese who've travelled abroad and experienced other cultures, they're very angry by the prospect that the party basically is getting the foothold in what comes up on their Facebook page. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
But of course, most Chinese, we have to say, will not know anything about this. If Facebook is to open up in China, and at the moment you can't get Facebook, remember, it is blocked. You have to have a VPN to get Facebook. But if that stops, if they allow Facebook to actually open up, absolutely 100%, there's no way they'll let it go in the form that we know it as. The party will want a stake in it, the same way that the party has a stake in absolutely everything in this country.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure that that's just the way it is. That's China. So there's no way that they were going to be allowing platforms that actually allow this to happen. I'll tell you one interesting story though about this is this. Do you know this Books on the Underground situation that's happening with Emma Watson, the Harry Potter actress?
Yes,
Emma Watson.
yes.
Well, a local university in the town I am has started taking this on board, and they love this, leaving books around everywhere, and students doing it all over campus. But apparently those books have to be registered. All the books have to be registered with the students that have left them. And I questioned, well, why do you need to register the books? And a number of people, they couldn't give me an answer as to why they have to register the books. When I investigated, a top official had said that these books have to be registered. Now, make that of what you will.
Sure. And does that mean they can be
how much control?
Yes. Well, I mean, you might have seen the story from the journalism students here in London who want to ban certain newspapers because they don't like the political leanings of them. So, the cultures are growing closer and closer every week.
Indeed. Yes. It's but I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, we know regarding Facebook, has been learning Mandarin, and he's got a good relationship apparently with the Chinese president. So, hey, look, Facebook is not going to miss out on a market the size of this. I'm sure they're going to get in somehow, definitely.
You sure? Now, Peter, just change the subject again a little bit, please. There's been a lot of speculation about the future of Wayne Rooney over here in England, and will he survive the England new manager? And will he survive the Jose Mourinho revolution at Manchester United? And, of course, people are always speculating, well, if he doesn't, he'll pop off to China and earn like £1 million a week.
Join your mate Andre Villas-Boas.
Join Andre Villas-Boas, and I think Sven-Göran Eriksson has been out there. I mean, are there still extraordinary amounts of money being bandied around? And the supplementary question to that is, do Western players find it hard to live in China? Because a lot of them only do 3 or 4 months, and then they sort of seem to come back.
That's definitely one thing. I don't think that players coming over here are actually prepared for that massive culture shock, which they wish they get, and also the control probably that the clubs exert over the players.
Yeah.
So players here, it's very much a top-down culture. So certainly they won't be. They won't be just allowed to come out here and just live a nice life with their fat battery. They'll be very, very controlled when they're over here and monitored. And maybe that's another aspect which players coming towards the end of their career do not want.
Yes.
I know that Drogba and Anelka had problems like that.
Right.
As well. And also they had problems with wages being paid in the end.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of false money going into football over here in China. But also, I have to say that the Premier League itself is much more of an attraction than the domestic league.
Right.
As we've just seen with this new massive TV deal.
Yeah, sure.
Which the Premier League is $700 million US dollars. To show pay-per-view in China. Now, that is absolutely massive. So that shows you that the appeal is still international. I do not hear many people on the streets here talking about domestic football, even when big stars arrive.
Yep.
So, maybe Wayne Rooney will come out for a big payday. But, I don't think it's going to be a satisfactory end to his career.
No, I think you might end up going to America. Well, Peter, listen, thank you very much indeed, as ever, for taking the time to talk to us. Peter's got some stuff to go off and do, so we should leave it there.
Indeed.
Fascinating situation over there at the moment, it has to be said.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a tweet here from Scott, who says the legendary George Best passed away
I've just seen that.
in 2005.
I've just
seen
that.
I remember shedding a few tears as I watched his televised funeral. I remember the televised funeral.
Well,
that does not seem 11 years ago.
It doesn't seem 11 years ago to me.
That's extraordinary.
And it was, George had a terrible last 18 months, with his liver problems and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And do you know what happened there, Mike? He passed away on, I think it was a Tuesday or something like that. His funeral was on a Saturday.
Right.
And Andy Townsend and I were doing the Saturday morning breakfast show. So we went to the management here at Talk Sport and we said this is going to be a massive event, certainly for Northern Ireland.
It was, wasn't it?
Certainly for the world of football, and we should get out there. And he vetoed it. He didn't think it was very interesting.
Who did?
The guy who was there making the decisions. He's not here anymore.
Right.
He was a dunderhead,
and
he's now off.
There's no need to attack him.
No, I'm not attacking him. I'm just giving a factual explanation of the status of the chap.
Okay.
And couldn't see any merit in it whatsoever as being a location for an outside broadcast, despite the fact that we're the world's biggest sports radio station.
Well, there we are.
And George Best was probably, certainly the greatest British footballer ever. Maybe the greatest footballer ever.
Yeah. Well, thanks for turning George Best's funeral into another story about you.
No. I thought I'd just let you know.
This is Talk Sport.
There'll be some turkey.
It is still just about Thanksgiving in the United States of America. We'll keep you updated on the score between the Steelers and the Colts, of course. Coming up in the next hour, it is the Porky Quiz ahead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yeah.
You have said quite confidently you think Lewis Hamilton's going to win it, haven't you?
Oh, without shadow of doubt.
Rosberg has to come less than third,
less than fourth, I think.
Oh, less than fourth?
Less than fourth, I think,
Well, fourth or less, I think is what you mean.
Fourth or less, that's right, yes, I'm sorry, And of course, the trouble is it's not Lewis Hamilton's hands. If Lewis Hamilton only had to win, then it's in his hands. But he's got to win, and then fate has got to decide how the rest goes.
He's got to hope that something bad happens.
I just have this feeling, I just have this feeling. Why do you keep saying the same thing? Because,
I feel it in my fingers. You're going to burst in a song again, are you?
Yeah, I feel it in my toes.
Yeah. Here's one from Ian who says he's listening live from Changi Airport Hotel The old Nutter MP, meaning Mike Parry, seems to be on fine form. Next stop, Osaka.
Yeah.
He's off to Osaka.
Yeah, the reason I had to reiterate the political situation in China is to make sure that our millions of listeners were actually, on the wave band of what I was talking about.
Yeah, well, Peter had obviously said all that already. I was wondering why you were repeating it.
No, I was repeating it because what we didn't do is put the link and the connection together that a capitalist economy with a communist political structure, which everybody said was an impossible ideal,
well, I mean,
is in fact the most efficient in the world.
But is it really that simple? I mean, they've got a capitalist economy. They're not really being run like a communist country as such. I mean,
until you step up and say, I don't agree with what the leaders' policies are, I'm afraid you find yourself in jail.
Yeah, but that's not communism. That's totalitarianism.
Yeah, well,
I mean, they're not really
communism is totalitarianism.
It is, yes. But what I'm saying is that it's not. Totalitarianism is the overarching scenario.
Yes,
and they're not really communists anymore because they're now capitalists. So they're actually totalitarian capitalists. That's what they are.
Yeah, but they're communist capitalists as well.
No, they're not.
They are because you've still got to be in the party to
but
get
communism is about spreading the wealth, isn't it? Which they don't do.
No. Yes, but communism is also about central control. That's the core of Lenin Marxism is all about controlling everything. They control the world, and that's what they do in China.
Yes,
they control everything.
But it's also in its original sense. I don't want to turn this into some kind of debate about communism, but I mean, it's about spreading the wealth to all the people, so that the workers own the means of production and all the rest of it.
Yes.
That's not what they're doing. They're not doing that anymore.
They are in the sense that
no, they're not. The workers don't own the means of production.
They are in the sense that as the economy grows, then each individual peasant who's used to walk around in paddy fields treading on rice is now getting wealthier.
Not true. That's not what's happening in China. That's exactly what's not happening.
It is because it's trickle-down economics.
Well, no, because trickle-down economics isn't communism, is it?
Yeah, trickle-down economics is a consequence of
I'll just give up on this.
No, hang on. It's a consequence of a capital economy.
You don't understand economics, I'm afraid. I can no longer
No, I
continue
do understand
this
because I'm trying to explain the very basic principle to you.
So you think trickle-down economics is communism?
No. Trickle-down economics is capitalism.
That's what I told you.
But China have a capitalist economy.
Yes.
But they have a communist political setup.
They don't. Anyway, this is boring.
They do.
I'd rather tell you about Sir Cliff Richard, who's apparently going to release a new Christmas single.
Oh, yeah?
He's going to make his musical comeback with a song called It's Better to Dream.
Yeah, Better to Dream.
It's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, that's great. I read about Cliff Richard today. Apparently, since he said he's going to sue the BBC, right? He has
and the police as well, I think.
Well, more the
Everyone.
BBC. More the BBC. Since he's said he's going to threaten the BBC because of their what he calls their appalling behaviour, in following the police and highlighting the police raid on his home with allegations of.
Well, I think he was most upset with the helicopters outside filming the police inside the window.
Yeah,
right?
through his window.
Yeah.
On allegations which have now been found to be completely unfounded. You know. So, first of all, he went on the One Show, with old Alex, what's her name?
Yeah, Alex Jones.
Yeah, that's right. And she actually said it's a bit, strange having you here, considering... He said, no, I'm all right with the BBC. Since then, he's appeared on half a dozen BBC TV shows, over 60 BBC radio stations.
Maybe they're hoping that that's the way of sort of assuaging him.
For years, his records were never put onto the BBC playlists on the music stations. They are now very much on the playlist, played regularly. I mean, talk about a sort of, let's row back on this idea that Cliff's not very good.
Well, wouldn't it be ironic if he gets to number one at Christmas?
Of course it would,
Which is not beyond the realms of possibility.
And can only be done with the support of the BBC.
Yeah.
Who he's... Well, I don't know if he is suing them or whether he...
Well, he said he wants to, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
But you get the impression...
I think his lawyers are looking at it.
Yes. You get the impression that he wanted just to get his life back.
Yes.
And anything that he could do to sort of make that happen,
he
would do. It doesn't seem to me that he wants to have a long, drawn-out sort of civil court battle, does
No,
it?
I agree.
And also, by the way, the BBC, which is supposedly running out of money, how about this for you? Right? I was casually sort of listening to some World Service in the early hours of yesterday morning, right?
Okay.
And they have an arts show, which goes out on a Sunday night for an hour, and also on a Monday night is repeated, right? They were putting a sort of a trailer out for the fact that this is the great arts show which goes to the World Service. Not only do we cover films and books and music, but this year we're going around the world, and they're going to go and do a show in Paris. They're going to do a show in South Africa.
Well, nice work if you can get
a
it.
Show in Bombay, and they're going to go and do a show in New Orleans.
Quite amazing.
And they're going to have a live audience.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much that's going to cost?
Well, going to cost.
I thought they were supposed to be cutting back
hundreds of thousands. Yeah, but to the BBC, cutting back is cutting the workforce workforce by about 2 or 3%, when it actually needs chopping by 40%.
Yeah.
Because everybody you speak to in our business who's worked for the BBC will tell you there's usually 7 or 8 more people per show than we have here at
Absolutely
TalkSport.
right. Yeah.
And ours works very efficiently. Our people are very good, and tight teams are, I think, better to work within than because whenever I've worked at the BBC, and
there's an extraordinary number of people.
7 or 8 staff, producers and assistant producers for a 2-hour show. Quite remarkable. I mean, quite remarkable. I don't know how anybody can work there because your involvement in what you do.
Well, lots of things end up slipping through the cracks
of course
as well
they do,
because you're expecting somebody else to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas here, there's only one guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Possibly 2.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Now, listen, you know our old colleague, Eve Pollard?
I do.
She was like a very successful lady editor in Fleet Street.
Certainly was.
Been a broadcaster and that kind of stuff. One of the tomorrow morning's newspapers has done one of these rather horrible things about who ages better, celebrities or their daughters.
Oh, yeah, I saw that a bit earlier.
Right. And
they haven't got her in there, have they?
Yeah, they've got Eve Pollard, right.
And Claudia Winkleman.
And Claudia Winkleman, who's her daughter.
Right.
And they've used a scary picture of Claudia Winkleman and a rather glamorous picture of Eve, because she's a very glamorous woman.
She is.
And they're saying that, I see what they've done. They've got a picture of Eve when she was 44 and a picture of Claudia when she's 44.
Well, that would be the way to do it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And they say, who's aaging better?
Yeah.
And Eve looks very glamorous, but she is a very glamorous woman.
She is.
And Claudia looks a bit scary because she wears lots of mascara, doesn't she?
That's a bit harsh.
Well, no, she does. She wears lots of mascara on her eyes, and she has a dark fringe, which...
I wouldn't say she looks scary.
Which is down to her eyebrows.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she does a bit. You know.
She's a bit
But I think that's the
well.
look that she adopts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of all of those women who are pictured, who would you say would be the one most likely to be the first Mrs. Parry?
Oh, I don't think we'll get into that now.
No, I see they've got Joan Collins and Tara Newley.
Yeah, both at 53. Joan Collins looks better.
Joan Collins looks great.
Yeah.
Above that, we've got Nicole and Janelle Kidman.
Yeah. The most significant one is the largest picture on the page, which is the Queen at the age of 56 and Princess Anne at the age of 56.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to have to say the Queen looks better.
Are you?
Yeah, at the age of 56, yeah.
And what about Goldie Hawn and Kate Hudson, age 37?
Let me have a look.
You'd have to say
here.
Kate Hudson there, wouldn't you?
I can't find this one. Let me
down
see.
the bottom right.
Oh, I see. Goldie Hawn, posed for Playboy 2 years later, and Kate Hudson. Yes, you'd have to say Kate Hudson, definitely. Definitely.
Lady Astor and Samantha Cameron look remarkably alike, don't they?
Yeah, they do, don't they? That's amazing, that. Yeah, that's Lady Astor being Samantha Cameron, former First Lady, her mother.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Well, that's the whole point of the feature.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's all about mothers and daughters.
It is,
Blank.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah.
You're not going to put a picture of some nobody with somebody like Samantha Cameron.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was her mother or a stepmother.
Well, of course it's her mother.
Because she got married, didn't she, and then divorced,
but the whole
and then
point
married
is
again.
It's mothers and daughters. That's the whole point.
Mothers and daughters, you're right. Yes. Not a problem. Not a
Gray
problem.
says this. Who had the courage to let you two guys just do your thing 2 years ago? Whoever it was deserves a pat on the back.
Oh, really?
It's not necessarily a question you need to answer, though.
No, don't answer that question.
And here's one from Losty who says, you'd have to be mad to want to go into the Navy right now.
Yeah.
Problems galore and conking out vehicles.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. What I was going to tell you about was...
We haven't got much time to tell me about anything.
No.
William's got a question about the Porky Quiz, which is coming up in the next hour.
Oh, yeah.
How many pit stops can Porky have while he thinks out loud about his quiz answers?
Hey, don't worry about that. What I was going to talk to you about was the weather across Europe and whether it's going to affect our ability to drink gin.
Gin?
At Christmas.
Yeah.
A poor harvest in the Balkans, right?
In the Balkans?
In the Balkans. Poor harvest.
Never good.
It's a poor harvest of juniper berries.
Oh, yes.
Right? And juniper berries contribute to the unique taste of gin. A poor harvest of juniper berries followed a cool summer in countries such as Serbia and Macedonia and have left gin distillers searching for supplies. Prices for juniper berries have doubled and are still rising.
Is this going to be the next scare story?
Oh, yeah.
After your nonsense about the cream business,
No,
right?
this is going to be the next shortage, with one distiller paying $8,000 per tonne last month, compared with 4,000 2 years ago.
Yeah, well,
so
that's a 100% increase in 2 years.
Demand is high because of the boom in craft gin making in Britain, where the number of producers has risen from 116 in 2010 to 233 last year. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did, because I told you loads of gin, sort of boutique gin producers are now in Scotland.
That's right.
There's more gin producers in Scotland than any other country in the world.
That's right.
Did you know that?
I did. And there are more gin producers than whiskey producers in Scotland now.
Well, I don't know about that.
There are. Yeah. The problem of supplies has been exacerbated by the sharp decline in the value of sterling, as many of the ingredients used in making gin, which is juniper, angelica, orris root and dried citrus peel, are sourced from Europe and are priced in euros. How about that?
That's a bit of a worry. I better go and stock up on gin then before it starts to run out.
Did you know about angelica and orris?
No, I know about Angelica Houston.
No,
we haven't got many time to discuss it.
Juniper, angelica, orris root, and dried citrus peel.
Jennifer Juniper.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Incredible! These octo lights up!
Now, there's a very amusing video that's just been posted on the Two Mike's Twitter by C. Jester, which is a picture of you basically sucking up to the Communist Party in China.
What?
For more news on this story, stay tuned, he says. Turns out Porky's a member of the Communist Party in China.
No, I'm not. I don't know why people have ever equated me with communism. I hate communism. You know that. I've always been a freedom fighter.
Have you?
For democracy.
Is that right?
Against totalitarian regimes, whether they be from the left or the right.
Is that why you sucked up to the Russians?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
See, the Russians aren't communists anymore, so you can appreciate
the Chinese.
You can appreciate some aspects of the Russian way of life.
Indeed.
That's all.
Sharky says this: Porky doesn't seem to have time for people more successful or richer than him. What about the women in Bentleys?
Women in Bentleys are good.
Are they?
Yes.
That's generally a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah,
and he
absolutely.
adds, gin is only flavoured vodka. He says, MG, you can buy cheap vodka and make your own Two Mike's gin with juniper.
Juniper.
Well, apparently not anymore,
Juniper.
because the most expensive part of gin making now is buying the juniper berries.
That was Donovan, wasn't it?
It was.
Juniper,
can you
Jennifer,
not grow
juniper.
juniper berries in this country?
Yeah, I think you can, yeah, but I mean...
So you don't necessarily have to import them all from Serbia, do you?
Yeah, but then again, you can actually grow strawberries in this country, but you have to do them in greenhouses, you know.
I grew strawberries once when I was at university.
Well, there you go, you see. And
we had this kind of, it was like a round sort of plastic barrel with holes in the side. Basically, and the strawberries we grew were quite good, and we grew them in the garden in Bath, so it wasn't didn't need particularly greenhouse.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's not ideal conditions, and that's why we only have a few palm trees in this country, because you can grow them, but it's not ideal conditions.
Well, there's a lot of them down on the English Riviera, isn't there?
Yeah,
Torquay.
Like Torquay.
And Bournemouth have got a few palm trees.
Bournemouth got a few palm trees, certainly have. Yeah, but no, the old the gin thing is that if you go to where the ingredients for gin are most available, and as I say, I'll repeat to you again, what makes up gin are those four ingredients that I gave you, which are juniper, angelica, orris root, and dried citrus peel. I've never heard of orris root. I don't know.
No, me neither. But then we're not experts in these
go.
matters. David has tweeted a picture of his local called the Angel in Woodbridge.
Where
he says...
Suffolk.
Is that Suffolk?
Yes.
He says, I think I've mentioned this before, it does 300 different types of gin.
Wow. Let's have a look. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, smashing.
You used to drink quite a bit of gin, didn't you?
Well, before...
It used to be your sort of cocktail of choice.
No, before wine came along, right, I drank gin once I'd finished on the beer, you know. I mean, I only ever drink about 2 or 3 pints of beer, or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So maybe 6 or something like that, or 7.
Before... Or 7?
Yeah, before...
So it started at 4.
Well, yeah.
And then suddenly 7.
It started at 2, actually. I said 2 or 3. It depends on what sort of day of the week it is. But then I sort of feel that I'm sort of getting excessively sort of bloated and that sort of stuff. So I'll go on. Now, in the old days, that would be gin and tonic, large gin and tonics.
Right.
So I remember when I worked on the Daily Express in Manchester, and we'd go out after work if we weren't away somewhere. Yeah. We'd go to the Manchester Press Club, and you could have 12 or 14 large gin and tonics.
Yeah.
That problem at all. And then, you would wait for a cab at about sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to take you home, and you actually felt quite clear-headed.
Really?
Because that's what gin used to do to me. No problem at all.
Did it ever make you depressed? Because, I mean, people used to call it mother's ruin.
No.
And I knew people that used to drink gin, and it used to make them quite depressed.
No, it didn't. No, it had the opposite effect on me. It always made me very clear-headed.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that period ended, I think, after... getting back from America in the 80s, because in America I drank a lot of Tank and Tonic.
Tanqueray.
Tanqueray. Gin, which was excellent.
Well, I mean, like me, I suppose, you would have found the first time you ever even really thought about what gin you drank.
That's right.
Most people drank Gordon's gin.
That's right.
Or Beefeater, didn't they, in England?
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't really much of a choice.
Absolutely.
It was only when you went to America. It was the same with me.
Yeah.
If I used to drink vodka and tonic, it wasn't until I went to America that suddenly the brand became important.
It was like 40 different vodkas.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Absolute was a big thing in those days.
Yeah, of course it was, yeah.
But not anymore.
But then, I think, when sort of Fleet Street sort of enjoyed the economic boom of the sort of Thatcher years, and property started being snapped up everywhere and we moved to new places and all that. then wine came in. I don't know why. I don't know why wine suddenly came in, but it did. It came in, and then everybody stopped drinking spirits and started drinking gallons and gallons of wine.
Well, my parents never touched a bottle of wine until more or less my sister and I had started getting to university.
Well, there you go.
We started coming back and saying, we drink wine now.
Yeah, that's right.
And people would sit around in their living rooms just with a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And, it never used to happen.
Yeah, I've told you the story before. My first introduction to wine was Liebfrau milk.
Yes.
Which my dad used to... No, he used to order a bottle of Liebfrau milk with Christmas lunch.
Yeah.
And, of course, I wouldn't drink it because I was about 10 or 11 or something. But I saw him and my mum sipping at the Liebfrau milk.
Was there not a time when you sneaked your first alcoholic drink without your parents knowing?
Well, I've told you that was baby sham at a wedding reception for my auntie.
Right.
Or my auntie's daughter or something. And they were on the table and I thought, it looks like pop.
Yeah.
Because it did look like pop. And I grabbed one, I poured it into a glass, and I drank it, and I was intoxicated.
At the
I
age
was 12.
of 12,
yeah.
Shocking stuff. Now, you say you're going to Southampton at the weekend. I forgot to mention that last night, they lost to Sparta Prague, Southampton, and apparently their progression to the knockout stages of the Europa League is now hanging in the balance.
Is in jeopardy.
So I wonder what effect that will have on, as you said, the return of Ronald Koeman.
Yeah, well, I hope it'll have a negative effect because Everton need the points. It's a happy hunting ground, Southampton. Was it last year? No, it was the year before.
The year before you went down there.
We went, and it was 3-0.
Yeah.
Won 3-0. Did I go last year?
No, I don't think you did. I think you went the year before because we had this conversation about how you didn't realise they were still playing in red and white.
No, I think I went last year as well, and I think we lost 2-0 to memory. Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think, unfortunately.
Do you stay in Southampton then when you go down there?
Well, no, I don't have to because I just get the train along the coast to Portsmouth and then go to Gosport, you see.
Right. Okay.
That's where I live. But we've got change working arrangements next week.
Well, we hope we do. Yes.
Yes. Well, we will do.
Yeah. Well, we're doing Hawksby and Jacobs. Aren't
we did Hawksby and Jacobs between 1 and 4.
Yes.
But as I've been on my secret mission this week, there was a slight question mark as to whether the government wanted me to continue with my work.
Well, you don't know whether that's going to be the case.
Well, I think the mission could. I'm hoping the mission will conclude successfully for all parties concerned.
Yes, indeed. Yes. William says this: Vladimir Putin addressing an award ceremony for students was asked by a 9-year-old where the Russian border ends, and his answer was, "It doesn't."
No, well, I think that's a good answer.
How is it a good answer?
Well, because what he's saying is our ambitions are endless. What's wrong with that?
Well, that's not what people say, though, is it? Yeah. I mean, you don't want to expand Russia into the entire world.
Well, to be honest, if you followed the northern border of Russia anyway, you couldn't walk it in 15 lifetimes because it's a massive country. It goes across 9 time zones.
Yeah.
I mean...
But it's not the biggest landmass in the world as far as countries are concerned.
The biggest landmass would be Canada, I suppose.
It is Canada, yeah.
But, 2/3 of it is like, uninhabitable.
Well, yeah. Well, you didn't do well on the Canada quiz, I seem to remember. No, you got 2 out of 10.
No, I did okay. How many time zones has America got?
America has, if you include Hawaii, it's got the eastern...
It's 9. It's 9.
Is it as many as 9?
Yeah, it is, honest to God, because that's where people fall down. They say, America's only got 5 time zones.
Yeah.
On its landmass it has. Yeah. But if you go out through Alaska and then onto Hawaii...
Has it got 4 in the mainland? Because it goes eastern and then central and then mountain and then Pacific. Isn't that 4? I don't think there's 5.
4, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, it is 4, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. That's 4. But
so how do you get to 9?
Well, I don't know, but it does go out to 9.
Well, no, it goes to 5 because then Hawaii is a different time zone. You don't count the ones in between.
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm talking about 9 from London to Hawaii.
That's 9 hours?
Eh?
What, you mean 9 hours?
9 hours.
No, I think it's longer than that.
No.
It's 8 hours to California.
No, 9, of course it is. 9 time zones. It's 11 hours to Hawaii.
Well, how's that for 9 time zones?
What?
How's that 9 time zones?
Because they merge at a particular point.
To another time zone. That makes it 5 time zones. The hour time difference is different.
That's 5.
It's 5, it's not 9.
It's 5.
It's 5.
That's right, it is, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've just worked that out. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, maybe we should do a quiz on time zones.
No, because London to New
There'll
York...
be some turkey.
Some turkey. London to New York, of course, is -5. Then it's minus another 3 to California.
Yes.
Then another 3 to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's 5 time
zones.
Yeah. Thanks very much indeed. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Stevie says this. You've got to be careful saying freedom fighter these days, Porky. Think Rambo 2 at the end. He says it says dedicated to the freedom fighters, the Taliban, which is true.
Well,
remember,
they were in those days.
When he goes into Afghanistan, he's on the side of the Taliban against the Russians.
That's right.
Which was before it all went horribly wrong, of course.
Exactly. But that's the whole mess that the Middle East and associated countries like Afghanistan are in, is that the idiotic politicians in the West think, we don't like the current ruler, and look at all these freedom fighters who want to bring him down, we'll help them. The problem is the freedom fighters are usually, so-called freedom fighters, usually worse than the people who are in power. Yeah. And so,
but it all flips over, doesn't it?
Of course it does. Yeah. And then you get rid of the incumbent sort of tyrant, and then the freedom fighters take over, and then the atrocities become 10 times worse than they were before, and they all start fighting each other. People just don't understand. They understand the laws that govern the anthropology of tribal existence.
Indeed.
They just don't.
Vicky says, I've got zero hope for Porky on the quiz. I'm calling it at 1.5 out of 10.
Oh, no,
She's got no confidence in you at all.
No, don't worry about that.
And Steve says, I think Porky might be stuck in a time zone. How did he ever run a newspaper?
What do you mean?
Well, I think it was apropos of your description of the 9 time zones in America, which were later,
I see what you mean.
Reduced on Black Friday to 5.
No,
the discount was applied.
That's absolutely right. I remember once there was an episode of The Saint, and with Roger Moore.
Yes.
And this was before he was James Bond, obviously. And he lands in some foreign country somewhere, but it's always on the same set at Ealing Studios,
Right.
Where you see the walls moving and all that kind of stuff. They just take the nameplates off the doors and replace them with Mexican ones and all this kind of stuff,
Do you think they also use them for other programmes? So it wasn't just
absolutely. But, 1 minute the Saint's driving into the road in his Volvo.
It's like, I can't help thinking that the modern equivalent is Poldark and that guy riding across the cliff on the horse, which they used in every single episode.
It's not him either. It's a stunt driver, a stunt rider, But anyway, So Simon Temple lands in this, godforsaken sort of South American country, and then gets recruited by, the local freedom fighters to overthrow the government, which he does in a ridiculous plot by, bribing, people to topple him.
Right.
But the funniest thing about it is that the actual government themselves, when they're in the palace and the rebels, come pouring over the fences and through the gates and all that, and all the soldiers are throwing their guns away. Oh, welcome the freedom fighters. Why do the government call the rebels the freedom fighters? Surely they should be called them, those effing this, and that, and the rest,
Yeah.
And one goes to
report... Well, they do say that's the phrase, isn't it? One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
And the guy goes to the emperor and says, Emperor, bad news. What is it? The freedom fighters are coming over the wall. You would say, those terrorists, they're swarming all over the place.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I know.
You're absolutely right. Freedom fighters. What is the definition of a freedom fighter? Is it a man who's trying to free himself, free his country?
Well, it used to be...
or free his conscience?
Well, it used to be it used to be the phrase that was used by basically the Americans, wasn't it? They used, anybody who was uprising against a totalitarian regime they didn't like was a freedom fighter.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Which they would use to their own benefit to try and acquire the country or the assets of it.
Exactly.
Now, listen, I'm a bit upset with Sting.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, what about this in one of my journals? Sting, I had to move to US because Brits are so jealous.
Yes.
Right?
Well, this is a familiar refrain from some of the lovies,
absolutely,
isn't it?
Absolutely.
They always say, I could never was appreciated in my homeland. And they go to America.
Unbelievable.
And they love it, though, because in America they get treated like superstars. Yeah. And here they I kind of know what they mean, though.
Well, I don't. I'll tell you, the guy who used to go banging on about it because he didn't have a knighthood was old, Sir, what is he now?
Who?
Alfie, What's it all about?
Well, Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine used to bang on about it for years. I don't feel welcome in my own country anymore.
Right. Well, he lives in America.
I wonder why. He lives in America. Yeah.
Ringo Starr lives in America.
Yeah. Anyway, it says here, old Sting, right, says, I'm more comfortable here in New York. This is an interview given in a US magazine, by the way, which I think is disgraceful.
Why?
Well, because he's putting his own country down. The ex-police frontman, whose estimated wealth stands at £200 million, not dollars, says he had to move to America because of jealousy back home.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable here in New York, he says in an interview given in the US. I think it's divisive in England.
Well,
I think that's outrageous.
He's going to find it's quite divisive in America at the moment
as
well.
Yeah, I think he will.
You know.
Now, the 65-year-old son of a milkman and a hairdresser from Wallsend.
Wallsend, that's right.
In North Tyneside, very close to where we did our show.
Gordon Sumner is his real name.
Gordon Sumner, yeah. Sting has lived mainly in New York for decades. He says he's more accepted in American society than in Britain, where people can't handle the fact that he's climbed up the social ladder. I don't really belong to a class anymore, so it's better to be in a society like this, which is a little freer. It's all disgraceful stuff.
Well, it's
really
not really. I mean, as I say, it's a very similar refrain that many of these stars have said over the course of years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to say, when I first moved to America, I felt the same way as well.
But you weren't rich and wealthy and successful when you first got there.
No, but when I used to come back to Britain, I was quite rich and successful and quite young as well. And I noticed there was a very different attitude to that sort of situation in Britain than there was when I was in America. You know, where nobody really cared where you came from.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is that when I came back and you would sort of be used to walking around in New York City, pretty much getting anything you wanted. If you wanted to pay for something, somebody would offer it for you. You know, in this country, it was still, kind of very much the service industry wasn't there. You couldn't get anything you wanted. You know, I was driving around in a rented Mercedes. Somebody scratched it at one point. You know, people were kind of giving you dirty looks. You were quite a young guy getting out of a Mercedes. You know, that kind of thing. Which never used to happen in America.
Anyway, despite his lack of opportunity in this country, he and his wife Trudy Styler, 62, do maintain a 17th century manor house.
I was going to say in Wiltshire.
And 300-acre estate in Wiltshire. Worth £8 million. You know, so he's not doing that badly in the social, is he?
So what? When you say maintain it, does that mean that he just pays people to look after it?
Well, they do. They're wealthy. Well, what else can you do?
Well, that must cost a fortune.
Well, of course it does, but a house doesn't look after itself. One time, right?
Why doesn't he stock it full of, the homeless or something? So that he can do something.
Because they don't do
some
that.
Good.
These people don't do that.
Yeah, but they talk about it.
Of course they talk about it. Talk about it all the time. I mean, you know that Lily, what's her name, who went over to France and started crying and weeping.
Apologised on behalf of Britain, didn't she?
She's got a huge house in London.
Yeah.
And I wonder when she's going to invite the first homeless refugees from the jungle camp in Calais to come and share her bedroom.
We shall see.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll be waiting a long time.
Yeah. No, I tell you what, you're absolutely right. When you read sometime, I mean, for instance, I was looking at Paul McCartney's list of properties.
I see you retweeted one of his tweets yesterday.
I did, yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, I often do, yeah.
Do you?
Well, he's a hero of mine, you know.
Do you think he knows that?
He's the greatest living sort of musician, isn't he?
Why don't you use your contacts to get an interview with him or something?
He gives very few interviews.
That's what I mean. He might want to give one to you.
Well, maybe he will, but I've got,
his greatest living sort of
sure, but I'm really too busy. What I was going to say was, I looked at this list of properties he's got, right, and roughly it goes like this. It's New York City and the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
Somewhere in LA. The one in Arizona.
Yeah.
And then
one in Sussex.
Oh no! In this country, he's got Sussex, he's got London, he's got Mull of Kintyre, he's got a place in France, I think, south of France, something like that.
Well, so I'm counting about 15 places.
Whatever they are, but anyway, each one has to be maintained by a permanent staff.
Right.
Of 24-hour day. I mean, maybe 2 people, maybe 5 people. I don't know. But you're absolutely right. It's a mind-boggling.
No, you can't leave it just.
Well, of course you can't.
This is rack and ruin.
This is the whole point. You can't leave it go rack and ruin. Elton John, I think, is the same. I think
that seems ridiculous, doesn't it?
I think his place in the south of France has. I'm not joking about 16 permanent staff, and he's only there like 10 days a year or something. You know what I mean? Right. But I'll tell you where it came home to us. Again, it was myself and Mr. Walker, our colleague. Now the Evening Standard.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
And we had to find Mick Jagger. And we'd been racing around Paris trying to find him. We did, after about 3 or 4 nights. And then we lost him again. And this was all to do with his relationship with Jerry Hall.
Oh, yes.
So then we got some information about his chateau in the Loire Valley.
Loire Valley?
Yeah, the Loire. It's drivable from...
Loire used to play for Newcastle, didn't he?
Loire. That's right, yeah. But anyway, it was drivable
there was that
from...
Trog song as well, Loire.
Oh, was it? Yeah. It was drivable from Paris, so we had a driver who went down there, and eventually we found this place in this little village, and huge gated place.
Yeah.
And we thought, wonder what we're going to do, because there's huge walls and gates, but the gate was actually open. So we opened the gate, and we got our driver to drive us right up to the front door, and that was half a mile. I mean, it's amazing, the state.
Yeah.
And we got to the door, and our driver spoke French, obviously, and we said, ask him if Mick Jagger's here. So he said, and he said, no. He said, is this Mick Jagger's house? He said, yeah, it is. And they said, right, well, is he expecting him? He said, no. And we said, why? He said, well, he's only ever seen him twice in the last 4 years for 2 nights.
Yeah.
And then we got so interested and we said, what do you mean? And this bloke and his wife maintained the whole chateau property.
Because they'd have to.
Just the two of them.
Yeah.
But they never saw Jagger. They've seen him twice in 4 years.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it is amazing, because I don't know how you can even call a place like that your home, really.
Exactly,
because you'd be better off going to a hotel. There's not really any point.
Yeah.
Anyway, such is life. It's not something we're going to have to worry about. I mean, you've got more than one property, and you go to as many of yours as you possibly can.
Well, yeah, but that's investment and business. I don't have empty properties all around the world where I pop into every 2 years.
No, indeed. And you haven't got any chateaux either, at least not ones you told me about.
No.
Coming up next, it's time for the Porky Quiz on Formula One. Pretty much had to be that music, really, didn't it?
Indeed it did. The most famous motor racing motif music ever.
Now, of course, you might, Fleetwood Mac might not know that that's exactly what it is used for, but we shall see. Now,
yes.
The subject that you requested was on British World Motor Racing Champions of Formula One.
Yeah.
I've never seen you so excited.
Oh, don't worry, I'm
feel as if
on
you've
top
really
of this
got
one.
this. Okay, all right.
Top of this one.
If you get one correct answer, you will hear this sound.
Oh, yes.
You'll hear nothing, apparently.
Exactly, yeah.
If you get a correct answer, you hear this sound.
Oh, go. That's Murray.
If you get one incorrect, you'll hear this sound.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
That's very good.
He's down.
Now, are you ready for question number 1? As ever,
hit me with it, baby.
There's only going to be one correct answer. There's going to be no shilly-shallying or mealy-mouthing about sort of half a point here for, calling somebody Paul, all right?
Yeah.
Question number 1. How many British champions have there been?
How many British Formula 1 motor racing champions have there been? Altogether?
Yes.
There have been... thinking aloud here, I have the figure 10 in my head, but I think it could be 11. So it's either 10 or 11.
Well, you've got to give me one answer.
So I'm trying to count them up in my head, going backwards, from Lewis Hamilton to Jenson Button, to Damon Hill, to Nigel Mansell as 4. And we've got Graham Hill is 5, Jackie Stewart... it's a total of 11.
Incorrect.
No!
It's 10.
Oh, no!
Very close, though. Very close. I can't give you it, I'm afraid.
No, you must. No.
Well, what can I give you? You got it wrong.
I said 10 or 11.
Yeah, well, you then went for 11. No. Question number 2.
Yeah.
Where did Jenson Button clinch the title in 2009?
Jenson Button clinched the title in 2009 in... that would have been in... Yes, I remember the race very well indeed. Yes, it was... Now, let me see, 2009. He's been a bit of a failure up till then, and the team he raced with, he was with Honda, and then that sort of collapsed and the investors took it over, and it was Ross Brawn who rebuilt the team, put it together as a private investor, put Jenson on the road to glory, and he finally won it at I know now, Brazil.
Correct.
Thank you.
Spent an awfully long time getting to that one.
And if I'd have just got 1/10 towards 10, I'd be 2 out of 2 now, 100%.
Well, actually 1 out of 2, which is 50%. Question number 3.
Yes.
Where was 1958 winner Mike Hawthorne born?
Mike Hawthorne, 1958 winner.
Yeah.
Very first world champion we had. What? Let me see. I think it's a bit of a trick question, this, because, of course, he must be British, because he's listed as British. But, I mean...
Why not looking at me?
Eh?
Why are you not looking at me?
Because I'm staring into...
I see your eyes moving around.
No, I'm staring into space.
No, you're looking for something.
No.
Yes, you are. You're now laughing.
Inspiration.
You're now laughing, which is what you always do when I catch you out.
I'm looking for inspiration. I would say...
No, you're not. You're looking around.
I would say Mike Hawthorne was probably born in South Africa.
Incorrect.
No!
This is terrible.
I'm sure you threw that one deliberately.
No.
I think he was born in Mexborough, Yorkshire.
Well, why did you ask me where he was born?
Because that's where he was born.
You insinuated another country.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I just said, where was he born?
I talked about the Mexborough Triangle the other night about influential and important Yorkshiremen.
You should have got it right.
No, that was a trick question. You tried to make me...
If I ask you where somebody's born, the correct answer is where they were born.
Yeah, but you were hinting it was overseas.
Rubbish, absolutely rubbish. You're overthinking it. Question number 4. Yes. Jim Clark was killed in a Formula 2 race in 1968 after winning 2 championships in 63 and 65.
Yes.
Where did the accident happen?
In Germany.
It needs to be more specific.
Well, it was in Germany in a Formula 2 race. He went off on a bend, and I don't think Hockenheim was around in those days. Thinking aloud.
Well, I will need the name of the track.
Well, no, hang on.
No, that's
hang
what
on.
the answer says here, the name of the track.
Hang on. It was in Germany, and it was the... I don't think it was Hockenheim. I think it was called the Frockenhau. The Frockenhau.
The Frockenhau.
The Frockenhau, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Incorrect.
Eh?
No, incorrect.
What?
It was Hockenheim.
What?
It was Hockenheim.
But I was talking about thinking aloud Hockenheim, but Hockenheim wasn't around.
That's wrong.
How did you why did you allow me to go drifting into that?
It's not my fault.
So it was Hockenheim.
It was.
Well, in that case, my answer's Hockenheim.
No, well, your answer's already Frockenhau.
No.
It's frocking rubbish is what it was.
No.
Anyway, listen.
Down. Hockenheim was called Frockenhau in those days.
No, it was.
It was.
No, move on. Question number 5. One of Graham Hill's 2 wins was in 1968.
Yeah.
Which team was he racing for that year?
In 1968, he was racing for BRM.
Incorrect.
No!
He was racing for Lotus.
This is terrible.
That's 1 out of 5.
When he won in 62, he was racing for BRM.
That wasn't the question.
Well, no, hang on, BRM in 62.
No, 68 was the question.
I thought you said 62.
Oh, sorry, I can't help you for lack of hearing. You should get this one. Yeah. Question number 6. What was the nickname given to 3-time winner Jackie Stewart?
Huh?
What was the nickname given to 3-time winner Jackie Stewart?
Thinking aloud.
What was he known as?
So you're thinking of something like Jock or something like that. He was Scottish. What's your problem?
Sorry.
Well, he was.
He spat my tea out.
He was Scottish.
I can't help you with any clues.
So, okay. Right. So he won it 3 times, and until Lewis Hamilton won it 3 times, he held a unique place in the sporting annals of British Formula 1 racing champions.
That may well be true, but it's not relevant to the question.
And he always drove with a tartan band around his helmet, okay? Mm-hmm. He was very Scottish.
Yeah.
And he spoke with a Scottish accent. And
well, he would, wouldn't he?
Yes. Now, let me think. Thinking aloud here. Yeah. And you want to know what?
His nickname.
Well, he had a few nicknames. But the one that most...
he only had one nickname.
The one that was attached to him mostly I would say, was the... let me just think aloud here.
You have to hurry.
I think he was known as the Tartan Terror.
Incorrect.
No.
Straight into the back of it.
What are you
the Flying Scot.
The Flying Scot.
Yeah. Which is not very original, but pretty obvious.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody refer to him as the Flying Scot.
1 out of 6. Question number 7.
Flying Scot was a train, you idiot.
Question number 7. Who played James Hunt in the 2013 movie Rush, directed by Ron Howard?
Well, that's not a question about motor racing.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's a movie about motor racing.
It's not a question about motor racing or Formula 1.
It is. Well, you haven't done very well on the real question, so maybe you'll get this one right.
So, this guy's...
You have seen Rush, have you?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it. No.
You know what it's about?
It's about his rivalry with Niki Lauda.
Uh-huh.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Who played James Hunt?
Who played James Hunt? I bet you that was something like... thinking aloud here, I'm trying to think of somebody who's got blonde hair who's an actor. Well, you don't have to have blonde hair. You can put a wig on, I suppose. And actors can play all sorts of... I reckon it was Eddie Redmayne.
Incorrect.
No!
This is terrible.
No.
It was a guy called Chris Hemsworth.
Well, nobody's ever heard of him.
Yeah, they have. He's a massive actor. He plays Thor in the Marvel movies.
Well, I've never seen the Marvel movies.
Question number 8.
Yes.
Lewis Hamilton is the most successful British Formula 1 driver ever with the most wins.
Yeah.
Who is second on that list?
On that list?
Yes.
Second... Ooh. I would say probably Nigel Mansell.
Are you sure that's your answer?
Hang on. Thinking aloud. Let me think. Yeah, you see... Ooh, let me think. Well, it could be Graham Hill, because he won it twice. And Graham Hill raced for 17 seasons And
I can't help you with any clues.
And then he only stopped racing because he got killed in a plane crash.
That's right.
Pretty good reason to stop racing. Right. Do you want to know the second most successful?
Yes.
After Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
After Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
I'm sticking with it. Nigel Mansell.
Correct.
Hooray! Woo, woo, woo! And you tried to put me off.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
I said I didn't know if that was your answer.
I said Nigel Mansell. You said, is that your answer?
Well, of course I said, is that your answer? Because you said thinking aloud.
Yeah.
All right, you got 2 out of 8. Question number 9.
Yeah.
What is unusual about John Surtees' racing record?
John Surtees' racing record?
Yeah.
John Surtees' racing record. Well, lots of things are unusual about John Surtees' racing record.
He used to drive in a dress?
No, you idiot. John Surtees.
Yeah.
Now, Mike Hawthorne was unusual because he became a champion on motorbikes before he became a champion in motor cars. Mm-hmm. Did you know that?
I don't know about that because I don't put the questions together.
Yeah, Mike Hawthorne.
I didn't know he was from South Africa either.
You idiot. So, John Surtees, what was unusual about John Surtees?
John Surtees' racing record.
Yes.
Listen to the question.
Yes. What do you want to know? What's unusual about it?
What is unusual about John Surtees' racing record?
Well, I suppose it would be the fact that... now then, there could be something in this. See, I'm thinking maybe he didn't have a driving licence for ordinary roads, you know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking aloud. Thinking aloud. But it could also be that John Surtees... let me see. I think what it is that you see, apart from his world championship, he actually only
This is terrible.
No, he didn't win any more races apart from the season in which he won his world championship.
Incorrect.
No!
He is the only man who has won world championships on 4 wheels and 2 wheels.
Well, I told you that.
No, you didn't. You said Mike Hawthorne had, which he hasn't.
Oh, well, come on.
Which he has not.
Oh, come on.
Which he has not. The only person who won Formula One and also won the 500cc motorcycle world championship, winning that title in 56, 58, 59 and 60. He's the only one that's won both 2 wheels and 4
Well, you knew
wheels.
that I was confusing John Surtees with Mike Hawthorne.
Well, no, I didn't.
You should have picked that
How
up
did I
and you
know
should have
that?
redirected me.
All right, you've got a chance to make 3 out of 10, which was my prediction for your score. When did Damon Hill retire from Formula One? I'm looking for a year.
Damon Hill retired from Formula One in... now, he was a big mate of Murray Walker's. Remember Murray Walker crying when he finally won his title? I would say he retired in 1999.
I'll give you that. It was after the 1999 season. Correct.
Hooray! Woo, 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 woo. See?
So your score comes to a grand total of 3 out of 10, as I predicted.
No, listen, it should have been 4 for the first answer.
Why?
I said 11 but meant 10. And then
so that's no points. Nil point.
That's 4. And then I confused John Surtees with Mike Hawthorne as being the man who raced on 2 wheels as well as 4, so that should have been 5.
Well, that's also nil point.
And then the stupid question about an actor in Rush doesn't count.
Well,
so that's,
you didn't get any of the others
that's
either.
nearly 6.
So you're going to call it 6 out of 10, are you?
Well, I think that I think morally it was much closer to 6 than 3.
Really,
How many time zones has America got?
Sadly, in terms of the scoring and the points that you get, I mean, you might as well say that just because you finished 6th in the Formula One race in Abu Dhabi, you're going to give yourself a spot on the podium.
But
because actually you got 3 more right.
There'll be some turkey.
The answers I got right were pretty brilliant. Knowing that Jenson Button, won his championship in Brazil is pretty brilliant.
I still think you had that written. I still think you had that written somewhere.
No, I didn't.
Why did you spend 2 minutes looking around and then suddenly coming up with Brazil?
Knowing the year that Damon Hill retired, 99, that's pretty brilliant. I mean, these are technically great answers. The easy ones slipped by because the challenge in my brain didn't sort of respond,
Well, William says, not quite the checkered flag, Porky, 20 points deducted.
I think not.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow on the warm-up from 11 a.m. And Porky's hoping to go off to Southampton-Everton later on Sunday as well. A couple of birthday mentions. David says this: it's my birthday. Me and the missus are off to get bladderated in Liverpool. Any chance of a podcast mention? And he says, hashtag, not staying in the Adelphi.
Not staying in the Adelphi. What's his name again?
His name is David. He doesn't say what his missus' name is.
Okay, well, David, have a very happy birthday, mate. Have a great time in Liverpool. It is a great city, but do not stay at the Adelphi.
Yeah,
obviously.
if you go anywhere near the Adelphi, then you go to that pub which has a great karaoke machine.
That's
which
right.
is quite good fun. And then Stephen says, please shout out happy birthday to my son Luke Dumilo, who's 19, listens to your podcast, and he's a big fan since he saw you at the Hen and Chickens.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
that was quite a while ago.
Well, Luke, have a very happy birthday, my friend. I hope you have a great day. A truly great experience awaits you.
Yes. And just a few comments on your quiz performance, I have to say. Here's one from Lee, who says, MG, the best yet. A quiz on British champions, and Porky brings South Africa into it. Hashtag plank.
Yeah, but you see, that question was designed to make me think he was born in India or something like Cliff Richard was,
Well, if I said to you, where was Alan Brazil born?
Yeah.
Why would you immediately think that he was born somewhere other than
Scotland?
Scotland?
By the way, the Hockenheim one was a disgrace.
Not at all.
I bandied Hockenheim around, and you dismissed it as being irrelevant, and so I thought that the precursor to Hockenheim was Frockenhau. But I'm sure it was, I'm sure if you double-check that.
You said Hockenheim didn't exist.
I said it didn't in those days. It was called something else.
Well, that's like you saying you went to the University of the Trent. In the days when you went there, it was called Trent Poly. How about this from Dazza? Porky should be sued under the Trades Description Act for claiming to be any kind of expert.
Really? Okay. Well, I'd like you to come and sit in the hot seat, pal, and get even 1 out of 10 right, okay?
Well, that's not the way we do it.
Struck by panic disease,
that's
you
would. That's not
would.
the way we do it. The Frockenhau sounds like some sort of German backstreet boozer, says Phil. The Frockenhau.
Yeah, well,
And Rob's very amused by the fact that Jackie Stewart was sometimes known as Jock.
Well,
Jock Stewart.
I bet a load of people did call him that,
Hey, by the way, did you see that Rod Stewart had to cancel a show the other day?
Why?
Because he's got some kind of virus, he said. And he's gonna have to, I think it was at the O2 or somewhere like that, and he's having to do it in December. He sent out a very apologetic tweet.
Well, you see, that is a big nuisance to people because, you're coming down to London to see Rod Stewart concert.
But it's not his fault if his voice is not going to work, is it?
You've arranged for the children to go and stay at the in-laws or the grandparents or something like that, and you come down and you're going to have a great night out and all that, and then all of a sudden the singer pulls out. That is bad news.
Well, yeah, but, these things can't be helped, can they?
Yes. Well,
these things can't be helped.
Yes.
Because occasionally, you would rather wait and see your sort of pop star of choice who was in fine fettle rather than seeing somebody who wasn't quite
Well, I suppose so.
But,
what happened to the old adage, the show must go on, huh? That's what I'd like to know.
JPK says, so when he said 11, he meant 10. So when he said 1999, he meant 1989.
No.
Deduct some points for the whining.
No.
Well, I could deduct points, but it's not my place to do that because only the independent quizmasters can do that.
Exactly.
But there is an inordinate amount of whining. It's more whining that comes off the old starting grid.
No, there's not. No, I just like to get things right, and I like people to face up to their responsibilities and treat me with respect, okay?
Respect?
Yeah.
You want respect?
I want respect, okay? Right.
So, for the rest of your secret mission day, hopefully that will be under control.
Yeah.
And then you'll be here bright and early at the appointed hour for the warm-up.
I very, very, very much hope so. Now, listen, I came across in one of my psychological journals.
Sorry.
What?
Paz sent you another quote of yours. He only stopped racing because he died.
Well,
generally speaking, that would work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you remember he was flying
Yes, I think had he not already stopped by then, though?
No, he hadn't. He was, in fact, he was due to race that weekend, and he was flying his plane back to his home in the home county somewhere, like Buckinghamshire, something like that.
Do you know Graham Hill was born in Hampstead? Like me.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
He was from Mill Hill originally.
Mill Hill.
As was his son Damon, was also born in Hampstead.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. But no, he and he's flying his single seat. No, it wasn't. It was a twin-seater plane. No, it's 4 people in the plane. It's a single propeller plane, single engine. Piper Cessna. And
Piper Alpha.
It was Piper Cessna. That was right. Yeah, it was Piper Cessna, and it came in over the golf course like it normally did, and you could see it from his back garden. And then it went over the ridge.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
It's not a Piper Cherokee.
No, it was Piper Cessna.
I think it's Cessna and a Piper are 2 different planes.
I don't think they are. And crashed, and that was it, I'm afraid.
Taxi Man has got
brown bread.
Well, that's not the right thing to say at all. Taxi Man says someone tweeted the name of the actor that played James Hunt to Porky a little bit earlier.
Yeah, they did, actually.
And he retweeted it.
What? Did I?
Apparently you retweeted it, but failed to remember what it was.
Yes. Somebody must have known the way your devious mind works.
Nothing to do with me.
Well, you instruct the independent quiz master.
I do not instruct them.
Now, I'm going to give you keywords which you have to be aware of in order to get your life in a straight line, okay?
My life in a straight line?
Yeah.
Why would I want my life in a straight line?
Well, because, you can achieve success by having key words in your head, and every time somebody mentions it or you think it triggers a potential winning situation
it's just
for
like
you.
word association.
Well, it's not word association, it's word motivation.
All right, okay.
So these are the words that you've got to be aware of, okay, during your working day.
I don't have to think of any words.
What?
Do I have to think of any words?
No, you don't have to think at all.
Well, you're just going to read a load of words out?
Yeah, I'm going to read words.
What am I going to do?
Well, you're going to tell me whether or not they do have a huge impact on your life.
Oh, I see, right.
Right, the first word is change.
Change?
Yes.
Not really, unless you've got any.
Second word is fear.
Fear? No, I don't fear anything.
Third word is courage.
Courage? Not really. Dan Rather used to say it when he finished his newscast on CBS.
What did he used to say?
He used to say courage, which made no sense at all. Do you remember how, at the end of the CBS sort of evening news, he would stare kind of into the camera.
Yeah.
And he, for some bizarre reason, at one point towards the end of his career as a newsreader, his last words to the audience were courage.
Yeah, okay.
Nobody knew what it meant.
I noticed one of our colleagues started saying some prophetic thing like, stay safe, or something like that.
Andy Goldstein.
Was it?
It's Andy
Goldstein,
Goldstein,
yeah.
At the end of the sports bar.
Right, okay. Now, so the fourth word is believe.
Believe?
Yes. Is it a key word in your life?
Not really.
Fifth word is trust.
Trust?
Yeah.
No.
Ask.
Ask?
That's the next word, ask.
Not really. I'm not feeling any of this.
Okay, next word, intuition.
Intuition. No.
Okay, next word, action.
Action? No.
Action. Well,
action.
See, that's a key word in my life.
That's what a director says, isn't it? Action.
Yeah, but no, action's a key word in my life. Because
how many times do you think of the word action?
Every day. 10 times a day. Right, I must take action. That's what I say to myself.
I don't need
no
satisfaction. All I want is easy action, baby.
That's one of my key words, action. I'm telling you. Really? Yeah, it really is.
Why is it plank one of your key words as well?
I'm not going to answer that stupid question. Right, the next one is purpose.
Purpose?
Yeah.
No.
You don't have purpose in life?
Well, I have a purpose in life, but it doesn't mean that I think of a word called purpose.
Right, okay.
In order to have purpose, you don't have to think the word purpose.
Right, okay.
Next, this is mumbo-jumbo.
Hang on, next one, happiness.
Happiness. Actually, that is a word that I would probably associate with myself. Yeah.
Right, really?
Yeah.
What, pursuit of?
Well, not the pursuit of, just the feeling of, generally.
What an empty and shallow life.
To be happy? Well, it's only because you like to be miserable.
No, the pursuit of happiness.
I don't pursue happiness, but I am happy, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And you're miserable.
No, I'm not.
You are.
No, I'm not.
You've said quite often to me that you think anyone who enjoys their work is a loser. You don't think that anyone... That. Yes, you have.
No,
you said it last week. You said that anyone... You were talking about Gareth Southgate, who said he'd been really enjoying the England job. You said anyone that enjoys their job is not doing it right and is actually a loser.
What I said was, if the first response you get from "How's the job going?" "Oh, I'm enjoying it," that is wrong.
Well, it's not.
You can enjoy it in the past tense. You can look back and say, "I enjoyed that," but you can't enjoy it at the time. Now, the last two words.
Yeah, go on.
Love.
Love, yes.
Is that relevant to you?
I would say so.
Do you think about that every day?
I do. Yeah, I love my children.
Okay, yeah,
love my family.
And
love my mother.
And the last one.
Don't love you.
Well, that doesn't bother me at all. I couldn't care less.
Oh, good.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. You can go and, as far as I'm concerned, you can...
You were going to try and turn that into some kind of Rogerisation scenario, weren't you?
No.
But actually, I stumped you by saying I love my children.
I don't care
if you nowhere to go.
I don't care if you fall off the pavement.
That's not very nice.
And the last one is...
Well, at least if I did, I could get back up again.
And the last one is gratitude.
Gratitude, no.
Yes. Well, you see, I do.
Why do you feel gratitude
I'm grateful to God for every day.
God?
Yes.
You believe in God, do you?
Well, of course I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you think he exists then?
Well, I'm not going to go into that.
You also believe in the devil.
Days.
Well, you believe in the devil as well, don't you?
I believe that there's a great draw towards evil in life, and that you have to repel against it.
But what are you grateful to God for?
I'm grateful to God for existence,
really?
and the fact that I.
That you miraculously recovered from this so-called heart complaint.
No, I haven't recovered from it. What I do is I live with it, but somebody gives me the strength. I assume that's the Almighty.
The
Almighty.
Yeah. I love the Almighty.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't see any sort of reason to think of particular words to make your life work. I mean, if you need a structure, that's fine. I don't. I'm quite happy to move from one project to another, do one thing and then do something else, do multiple things at the same time. But I don't need, for example, to think of the word purpose to have a purpose.
Well, yeah, but
any more than you need the word action.
Action's a really good one in my view.
Yeah, well, there's lots of things you can do and make actions that you can make, but you don't have to actually envisage the word, do you?
Yeah. Well, I do sometimes, because
I find that very odd.
I think stimulating and motivating. You know what I mean?
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Well, why don't you think of motivation as a word? Or stimulating as a word?
Well, no. I am permanently motivated and stimulated.
Oh, yes. I'm very glad to hear it. Good.
I take my shirt off in front of the kids and say, look at me, aren't I ugly? Aren't I fat and flabby? If you want to look like me, keep eating 4 packets of crisps a day, 2 chocolate bars, have a pizza after school, and you will look like me.
Yeah.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Heroism is all right, but